What I'm trying to say in the final analysis, once we take control of ourselves, we have to stop being imitators and be innovators. And realize we've got a continent 12 million square miles. Wherever our bodies are on the face of this earth, our cultural and political heartbeat is in Africa. Whether you ever go to Africa or not, that is your home, that is the home of your spirit, and that is the heart and meaning and definition of your commitment. And none of us, any place in the world, will be free until that continent is free.
The Masi Warrior Clan was created because myself and others like Brother Nahisi saw a need for a young African group to analyze information concerning the African phenomena with no bias, with rigor, and with scholarship. We created the Masi Warrior Clan for the purpose of being an expert research team, of being a team that produced products, a team that was capable of producing products for African people globally to dispel myths, rumors, and provide them with accurate scholarship.
brought it up. And he was like, I don't debate y'all. Y'all too disrespectful. Aboriginal power won't even debate Sean because he's too disrespectful.
He is though. No, he really is though. I can't really like you, bro. You cool. Not a coincidence. I actually chop it up with Cub. But niggas that come off too heated and disrespectful, like I said, I'll debate you, bro. But we gotta get in the ring first. If you're gonna be disrespectful like that, at least disrespect me in the ring, bro. Let's start now, bro. Can you disrespect me in a cage, bro? Like, I'd rather just do that. Then we go straight from the cage. I mean, put your ice on the way to the motherfucking computer, and we'll debate directly after that, nigga. Shit.
That's why I don't even be. Fucking with the nigga and shit. You feel me? Like, it's like, wait, bro, talk like that, man. We gotta get face to face with you to talk to you like that, my nigga.
Yeah, Peanut. You good? Go ahead, I got my brother on here. Peanut, what's the word, my brother?
Yeah, I appreciate you, man, but lucky, let me say this, man. First of all, I'm an older brother. I'm young in spirit as I stay in shape. But I'm older. I deserve respect. Don't lie on me. You're not going to get nowhere lying because that's what's going to make you fall face first. Second of all, I'm well known in the Pan-African community. I'm not nobody new. You're younger than me. You don't know this. I didn't put in work and expose Rob Bourne, Sutek, any of them people over there. They know it deep down inside. And I'm gonna be long-winded. I'm a Moorish American. I already had back and forth with them dude. They erased videos. I'm not running from anybody. Don't ever say that stupid shit again. Third, and last but not least, I'm not losing no debate to no Pan-African. So don't ever say that shit again, famo. And that's it. Appreciate y'all, man.
He heard that. If Sean P want to debate, tell him to debate the champ over there, right?
Sutek wanted so this like it's a pecking order. It's a pecking. So Sean want you and Sutek want him. He say PMF ain't on his
No problem. There's no problem, man. Let's set up a Sutek debate, man. I don't like him anyway.
Okay, so I love that son, brother. I love that warrior mentality.
That's how it's going. I love to tell Sutek, tell me. There ain't nothing. My champ always in the chat. Album pop in. We'll set a topic. We'll set a date. We'll make it pay-per-view. We'll chop it up behind the scenes. I get their contact. We make it work. You heard it right. He ain't ducking no phase, bro.
But that's what I'm saying. He do this over here on y'all channel, but then when we get in other
hey, alright, I will block your ass, nigga, because I'm well known for disrupting them chats over there. Nigga, stop fucking lying, nigga. You a goofy, nigga. I would never let a lame ass nigga around me in my face, clown.
You gonna block me and I don't be
It ain't no time I ain't ever been on the Pan-African channel and made my impact. Stop lying. I'm a real man, bro. Stop lying, fam. Don't do PNF like that.
PNF, he trying to trigger you, brother. And
word the fuck up.
But listen, he did that to me, talking about, oh, word on the street, I'm ducking from John P. I've never even had but one conversation with this little disrespectful motherfucker.
Oh, okay, yeah, he a little hot. He like that.
So he like...
Of our own innocence. We didn't expect it. We were so unsuspecting Some of us participated in it without knowing what we were doing. And to understand it, there's 200 years of history you're going to have to look at. 1400 to 1600. It's the major turning point in world history. At the end of these 200 years, the world would never, ever be the same again. Europe had come out of its bag. It had rescued itself at our expense. It had learned longitude and latitude again. Had learned how to handle ships. They had, in their search for Asia and the spices and the sweets of Asia, they had discovered Africa en route, the greater prize. We are the victims of our own innocence. We didn't expect it. We were so unsuspecting. Some of us participated in it without knowing what we were doing.
Big guy, I got the game on the chokehold like a slip knot. Too much ambition, I got too much drive. I'm probably due for a pitch die. Black guy, repping the team, repping the squad like a mascot. Yeah, I'm the one, you know that I got it, but I still speak for the have-nots. Big guy, I got the game on the chokehold like a slip knot. Too much ambition, I got too much drive. I'm probably due for a pitch die. Black guy, repping the team, repping the squad like a mascot. Yeah, I'm the one, you know that I got it, but I still speak for the have-nots. Yeah. It's been a hell of a run. I done bagged all of the women I wanted to bag. I probably should slow down and settle with one. Probably should hit up my mama and tell her my problem. She always wanna pray for her son. Tell her I got it, it's nothing your God could do for me. I feel much more safe with a gun. Look what I've done, just look at what I've become. They thought I was stuck in the mud, I done came up. They gotta pay like I weigh, I made them double the funds. Niggas be hating, probably cause they wifey like me and she wanna give me the buns. She got a friend, told her that she can come too because 2 heads is better than 1. My competition is none.
How the fuck y'all find an African in my fucking family, but y'all ain't find y'all own
genealogy?
Shut the fuck up. That don't make sense, for one. Listen, y'all don't know what y'all did.
I feel like you standing on business.
Y'all lied on me, because y'all won't even know if that's me. And if y'all can trace that shit back to it's me, it's only 2 people in YouTube that got my information.
Yeah, he died by his own genealogy. You ain't an Indian, you ain't got a lot of me. Half of this track, best believe you lose a lot of sleep. Probably because you made it up to us honestly. You ain't a Cherokee, nope. You ain't a Chickasaw, nope. You ain't a Blackfoot, nope. Nigga, get lost. You just a fool with low comprehension. So I gotta come through with the henchmen. NAC, Sean P, Shy Son, Lucky. Don't forget Jay, got no time to play. Call that apple slipping with his genealogy. Now he's a con and I ain't talking about a singer. I'm coming for the top apple leader. He ain't a teacher, he's a preacher. He can't keep up, so we leave him. Yeah, he died by his own genealogy. You ain't an Indian, you ain't got a lot of me. After the track, best believe you lose a lot of sleep. Probably because you made it up to us possibly. You ain't a Cherokee, no. You ain't a Chickasaw, no. You ain't a Blackfoot, nigga, get lost. You just a fool with low comprehension. So I gotta come through with the henchmen. NAC, Sean P, Shy Son, Lucky. Don't forget Jay, got no time to play. Call the apple slipping off his genealogy. Now he's a con. OTK. TKO. Now he's a con. OTK. You died. TKO. Genealogy.
From Africa, but they will be able to tell you about Africa. They wouldn't be vaguely saying they from Africa, brother. Like when a European says I'm from Europe, he doesn't say I'm from Europe. He says I'm from Germany. I'm from a particular province. I still got people out there, right? You know, when people say, hold on. when people say they from Asia, they tell you where about from Asia they from. They tell you their province. They tell you that they still got people out there. These people will confirm that they are indeed a part of their heritage. But you niggas was calling y'all African? Oh, mysteriously, you have no contact with the people you say you descend from. So I don't believe you.
Hating Africa and hating the African, we ended up even hating ourselves without even realizing it. Because you can't hate the roots of a tree and not hate the tree. The roots of a tree and not hate the tree.
You ain't no Indian, please try again. Everybody know you's an African. And Malcolm X said, you can't hate the root without hating the tree. Now take a look at you, you's a wannabe Cherokee. And I told you before, you need some therapy. And why you never show the genealogy? You owe your ancestors an apology. And you know they turning over inside of their graves just because you don't wanna come from a slave. So you gotta take this whip in. I caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple. Caught another apple. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple. Let's go slipping. Caught another apple. Let's go slipping. Caught another apple. Caught another. Let's go. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple. Caught another apple. Caught another apple slipping. Yo, check this out, man. You wasn't already here, man. Dane Calloway lied to you, man. The research guy lied to you, man. Karimio lied to you, man. Your ancestors come from Africa, whether you like it or not. So no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you will always be an African. You can't deny the facts. You can't deny the evidence. You can't deny the genealogy. You can't deny the DNA. You can't deny it, man. Whether you like it or not, you are African. Caught an apple slipping. That's all we do. That's all we do. Let's go.
Got some dewy-eyed thing that you got a friend. I still ask you to look at that mirror. And if nothing's staring back at you is friendly, then you've got no friend.
Peace to the chat, your boy Sean P in the place to be, man. Like the show, share the show, tell a friend, we're live. Appreciate everybody tuning in to Midday with the Mossy. I just wanted to mind my business today. I got to work 9 straight days. So I just wanted to mind my business. But for some apparent reason, I get a message from Sabio. Sabio hit me up. He like, your boy over there saying that you didn't show this or you didn't show that or you didn't deal with this or you didn't deal with that. And I'm like, what the fuck is you talking about? And so he kept just trying to run down whatever the conversation was between him and Leandre. I'm like, okay, cool. Well, I dealt with Vince Bantu because he's the culprit behind pushing this initiative. And Sabio was like, well, they saying that you didn't deal with nothing they said in they bill. And I'm like, why would I go to the middleman, right? When I'm dealing with the actual source. So he didn't understand what I was saying. And I guess, I don't know. When I say he, I mean Leandre, he's not understanding because it's very simple that why would I deal with anything that you guys got to say when I know where the claim is coming from? The claim is coming from Al Dawadari's account, and Vince Bantu is championing Al Dawadari's account because he's using this information out of the corpus to make that argument. Well, apparently, y'all don't understand this shit, so I'm going to slow it all the way the fuck down because you start talking about pronunciations, you start talking about grammatical errors. Like, bro, we talking scholarship. You're going to have grammatical errors. You're going to have pronunciation issues, and you're going to be able to build off of that. That does not negate the information. The moment that you take it upon yourself to start talking grammar, you've lost, because that's not the topic. We're not arguing grammar or grammatical flaws or pronunciations. That's not it. Now, if you want to be funny and humorous and you know what I'm saying, you want to make your build or whatever your response may be to me, you want to make it comical, by all means, I've opened myself up for scrutiny by anybody. I ain't left none of that out. For those of you looking at my thumb, or remember I had slammed my thumb in the car door a couple weeks ago. It was very, very painful. So I know y'all can see that shit. Like, what the hell is that on his thumb? Anyway, ain't no way that I could get that shit out. I've tried everything, rubbing it, stretching it, all of that. The pain gone, but it just looks real bad. So they said that it may fall off, and because of how far down it is, I just gotta wait. So I don't know. It could be next month. It could be 2 months. I don't fucking know. It won't. One of these days, I'm gonna lose my thumb now, while the new one grows back in, because apparently there's going to be something that grow behind that. But anyway, as I was saying, so if you're going to go that route, by all means, I've made myself susceptible to scrutiny, meaning that I don't care if you take something I did, presented or said, and then you make fun of a pronunciation, or you make fun of a misspelling of a word or words. I don't care, right? Because at the end of the day, what are you presenting? Is your presentation about proving me wrong, or is it about a grammatical flaw or error, or is it about a pronunciation? And if it's about all of those things, by all means, I don't care. Like, I might say you're or you are, and I just might put YOUR. I'm Texan. I don't care nothing about it. If I'm Texan, I don't care nothing about grammatical errors. I don't care. Spellings, none of that shit, because I'm going to misspell some shit because I'll be typing way too fast. And then I hit send, and I don't give a fuck. I'm not proofing none of that stuff. Some of them posts I make on the Mossy page, I don't be proofing or doing none of that. But when I'm on my laptop, and I'm typing on my laptop, and I'm putting things together on my laptop, then you'll see all kind of corrections and things of that nature. You might see an error here or there, but it's less likely to happen versus me using my cell phone to write or type some bullshit to you motherfuckers out there that's want to learn something. Anyway, hold on one second. Let me get out of this. All right, I'm out of that. So, make sure y'all like the show, share the show, tell a friend, we live. We're about to get to this. Yes, but it's blood. But let me just be real. When I put forth the presentation of addressing the claims of Christianity in pre-colonial West Africa, I was speaking specifically to and only about West Africa. Courtney, this morning, when I got re-entered into Honey Clark's chat, gonna bring up some Northwest Africa. Brother, are you abreast to the conversation? So I snapped on him. I'm like, why is you even talking about that? So then when I brought up Christianity and pre-colonial West Africa, Leandre says, straw man. How the fuck is it a straw man, Leandre? How is it a straw man? When you motherfuckers got a show, and here it goes. So here's the show right here on the screen. Boom. Boom, motherfucker. Right there. Excuse my language. It's midday with the Mossy. Let me take myself out of this real quick. I need to make a point. So on the screen, it says Christianity in West Africa by the humble scholar B. Wash. This motherfucker called himself a humble scholar. This is his presentation. Mind you, watch this. Then he does this on BK's channel, The Apologist. Hopefully you ain't got no issues with it. Before you even have a motherfucking issue with it, let me just go ahead and do this. Hit the like button, please and thank you. So, y'all kept saying to us a long time ago, when I was in there, not really a long time ago, y'all kept saying to us before that all your sources are in the description. None of your sources are properly sourced in this presentation. So I don't know where you're using what particular source in order to go and get the answer for what it is that you're presenting. However, you tried to use this. Don't worry, I got that. Right? Some of these West African sources, I got that. But where is you using this at? Because this page is listed 196 to 263. That's a lot of pages for something that you ain't even using. And that's part of the problem with the citations in this, is that, okay, I'm showing y'all this, but if you go to the presentation that I did, let me show you. And I'm going to come back to it. There is a huge distinct difference in educating people and getting them directly to what it is that you want them to learn. All right, so I didn't say nothing for a minute because I did not want the audio to come through while I was talking. So I made this easy for everybody. So you're not chasing sources, right? You see how he used History of West Africa Volume 1? You see how I use History of West Africa Volume 1? But I properly give you a 1971 and it's the specific page that I'm using during this presentation. So when you see that in this presentation, you're going to know exactly where to go to get any of the information that I presented, because it's on every slide. Look at that, Gomez, Michael, 2019, 107 to 108. Is this even in here? African Dominion, A New History of Empire of Early and Medieval West Africa, 2018, 107 to 108. And then there's a 411 page that I use. I made it simple. My slides do not show just some shit and then you got to figure out where the hell you got to go find a source at. And I'm going to give you an example of that, because we're going to go back and we're going to look at this shit. Before I even get started, I want to make sure that y'all can properly see the presentation. The Humble Scholar. And what's your name? What's your name? Brian Washington, whatever your name is. Byron Washington, sorry. Byron, with all due respect, I'm going to say it like this. With all due respect, do not take the disrespect personally. I'm going to say it again. Do not take it personally. Take it scholastically, because your buddy in that same chat that you're in, Leandre, set you up for failure because he said that I was making a straw man argument. And I'm about to demonstrate with evidence that there was no way that I was making a straw man argument and that I was presenting according to what I was referring to from the get-go: Christianity in West Africa, pre-colonial West Africa. I didn't make this up. So let me see if y'all can hear this shit. And guess what? I'm going to have to skip in this presentation, and y'all are going to see why I'm going to have to skip in this presentation, Because it goes back to the point that I've been making the entire time.
But so let's get into it. So yeah, Byron.
Yeah, so our agenda here this evening, you know, there's gonna be a lot of information.
All right. So I just checked the audio. Everybody should be able to hear it. Hit the like button, please, and thank you. Please and thank you. Remember, I released the presentation on this channel a while ago. Y'all remember that? I released the presentation on this channel a while ago. This was done literally 2 weeks, September 27th. September 27th. Since September 27th, I've been hearing through other people, Leandre running his mouth talking about I didn't deal with this presentation, or I didn't deal with any other 20 sources that's in the description of this particular video. So how am I supposed to deal with something that isn't referring to the subject matter out of all of those sources? You're not pointing me in the direction of the right stuff. However, you want me to critique something or deal with something, yet you don't provide me. Listen, bro. I'm not dealing with y'all. Y'all are middlemen. You're middlemen. It is you middlemen. Even Vince Bantu is a middleman. But in the sense that this is Vince Bantu's argument and he's been having it the longest, I dealt with Vince Bantu specifically because he specifically is talking about West Africa. And he's dealing with an Arab from Damascus who claimed he was born and raised in Egypt and all that. That's neither here nor there. But the fact is that we're dealing with something from a people that wasn't even in a place. And then you tell me I'm strawmanning because I'm being specific. And then you wonder why y'all can't even debate or argue information in a debate tactic or setting, and you end up looking stupid, Hemi, because y'all think that all information is evidence. Everything you show on the screen is not considered evidence. If you're going to consider it, let me retort. If you're going to consider it evidence, is it good evidence or bad evidence? Does it help the argument or does it weaken the argument? Y'all are presenting information from a biased perspective that does not help your argument. And I'm going to show you why you just can't use anything and try to argue that shit like it's a fact. And you think that I'm dismissing it? Hell yeah, I'm dismissing it because it has no merit. It has no merit. It has no foundation for being involved in the argument. Exhibit A.
Information being thrown at you. I implore everybody to rewatch the show, take your time, take some screenshots, because it's a lot of information. There's a lot more information, but the agenda for this evening is going to be, the introduction. That's kind of what we just started, building some confidence. So we're going to just talk about like the background up until we get into West Africa. We want to engage the audience.
So he's going to talk about the background up until he gets into West Africa. So he is telling you already, Byron Washington is telling you already that he's going to be talking about some shit that ain't got nothing to do with West Africa up until he gets to the point of when he's talking about West Africa. His presentation is titled Christianity in West Africa. So I'm not making no shit up. There's one source for this entire problem. And y'all want me to read all 20 of these sources, and y'all ain't even got the goddamn source in the description of this video. The one source where it all comes from, ain't none of y'all got it. It ain't on the screen nowhere. The one, I'm gonna say it again. The one source where it all comes from, y'all ain't even got it. See, at first, when I was in that group dealing with y'all motherfuckers making this video and having a conversation with y'all kept on trying to bring up Leo Africanus. This Negro ain't went nowhere near sub-Saharan Africa. He stayed in North Africa. Until they sent him over there with the Pope, and he ended up being converted to Christianity and changed his name to Leo Africanus. He was a Muslim before that. Then y'all try to run away from that, then start trying to tell me that some Nubians brought Christianity to West Africa. Then y'all start saying all this other shit. I said, no. Those are new claims with no evidence. You ain't got no evidence for that. So then I got like a 3 or 4 hour duck and dodge from y'all in the first initial chat when I was dealing with this about all this other shit, but none of y'all ever wanted to deal with the information. Y'all kept saying, read the sources in the description. You ain't read 20 sources that fast. You ain't did this, you ain't did that. All of that was irrelevant to what I asked you specifically. Y'all are supposed to be Christians, Hemi. Y'all are supposed to be Christians, Byron Washington. Y'all are supposed to be Christians, Leandre. Why the fuck are y'all some lying ass niggas? Y'all are fucking liars. So then y'all start trying to Google yourselves in the conversations, then start to make these other arguments, and then hear me. Lo and behold, I understand that you was trying to Google yourself in the conversation with me specifically because you start saying some of the most outlandish shit on the call, and then start trying to use, okay, well, according to your logic or according to this, then this, that, and the third. No, that's wrong. That's not how you address it. The topic is this so-called claim of a kingdom in West Africa that controlled the gold trade. And they were Christians. And then I said there was no Christianity in West Africa or a Christian kingdom controlling no trade. And y'all was like, yes, it is. You didn't look at the sources. You didn't do this. You didn't do that. Who? And then it came down to what Dawadari said. He translated this word Nasari out to mean Christians. So then I had to go a step further than that just to break it down to you to show you how Dawadari ain't a primary source. He's just a motherfucker telling a story. You didn't want to listen to that. So now Leandre comes up and say, I don't see how he ain't a primary source. Do you know what a primary source is, fool? Dawadari was not there during the time of the event when it happened. He would not be a primary source. Your primary attestation would have to come from people that was right there during the event. That would mean Al-Din, Mansa Musa, and whoever else was actually in the room having a conversation that could hear two people that kept people out of their business while they was handling business. Dukali, he says he's overhearing them talking about something. And Dukali don't say that he says Christian. Dukali don't say that. He is the informant. This goes back and says something to El-Dawadari. So lost in translation is a conversation that could have been held by Dukali and El-Dawadari. But y'all keep prancing around this shit like y'all just got it like that and then saying straw man. I'm finna show you motherfuckers.
Of course, and we're gonna have some visual aids to kind of talk about the ideas towards the end about where areas are we particularly looking into, and then BK and I'll talk about some final tips and takeaways, like what does this mean moving forward within the UA community, or just people who just students of history.
Cool. All right, so Christianity and West Central Africa.
So we are what we're not stating here, because a lot of times in these conversations, the first thing people want to try to put words in your mouth is and state something totally different. Right now, we're just doing a basic, a very modest claim. And so you see, as you can see on the screen, what we're not stating is Christianity was the or dominant religion in West Africa prior to colonialism. Not saying that at all. We're not saying what specific type of expression it was outside of its original theological bounds. And that's a big one, because people often want to say, like, what exactly did it look like, or how did they do this and how did they do that? That can be a different conversation from a different area, different show, different book, but that's not what we're stating here, right? Outside of, again, its original theological boundaries. And we're not stating who or what person was the leaders. So oftentimes in most places in Christianity, you're going to see leaders, big figures, from different regions and stuff like that. We're not going to be able to do that on this show. And we'll talk a little bit as to why.
So let me pause real quick. Byron, thank you for being here and listening. I know you're probably working. I really don't give a fuck what you're doing. But right here on this slide, ladies and gentlemen, Exhibit A. What are we not stating? Christianity was the or dominant religion in West Africa prior to colonialism. So, while you're here, you're not stating that Christianity was the dominant religion in West Africa prior to colonialism, but you're saying Christianity was in West Africa pre-colonialism. So when I do a presentation and my presentation says, addressing the claims of Christianity in pre-colonial West Africa, I'm not strawmanning, because you're saying it right here in your slide that you're not saying that it's the dominant religion. So you're saying it's a religion and it's in West Africa pre-colonialism. Leandre seems to think that I'm creating or committing a straw man. This is the part of the problem that I have with y'all. Bro, listen to me. Let me be clear, bro. Let me be clear. Y'all are Christians. So there is a moral code and character that you have to uphold. You believe in the Bible. You believe that a motherfucker walked on water. You believe of all this stuff in the Bible of being a historical fact. I've heard Hemi attest to this, that he argues for the validity of the book as it's written as an actual fact. That's his line. So where the fuck is y'all integrity? If you believe the book and this faith that you practice to be all as ends as, if this is the moral conduct of people who are supposed to adhere to something and be this astute group of individuals, where is the integrity? Because Byron, you simply say right here, you're not arguing that it was a dominant religion. So you're saying that it was a religion and it existed before colonialism. Period. There's no way, shape, form around that. That's what you're saying. And I'm here to say to you that this is Vince Bantu's argument. It's not yours. And I'm going to explain why over again.
That is the case. And then lastly, because this always comes up when you talk about Africa, right, is what was the color or shape?
Byron says, did I say it controlled the Gold Coast trade or something? We're going to see what you say. Because if you're saying it was in West Africa, where was it in West Africa? You're not specific. You don't say where it's at in West Africa. This is why I did not want to deal with your video at all. When you had a conversation with Garfield, there was a problem with this so-called kingdom that's supposed to be full of Christians. You ain't got the homework for that. So why would you utter that? Why y'all keep on just throwing shit at the wall hoping something to stick? Where is your integrity, black man?
Say of all the different types of Africans. And we say that because, you know, we often want to talk about Africa being this the most diverse continent and having all these different things, how big as Africa is, being a motherland. But often we want to just make Africa look one way when we know that it's many different types of people with different phenotypes, shades of skin, hair types, everything like that, all indigenous to the continent of Africa. So here we're not doing that you know, the shade tree game here. We're not doing that.
And if I could add,
hey, when he said that he was not doing the shade tree game, he knows that Africa is one of the most diversified places on this continent. It is the most diverse. It is the most diverse. No argument with that. So that's what I'm saying. Some of this, I gotta skip ahead because it ain't dealing with what I'm talking about. And y'all about to see why. Now go ahead, BK, and add to it.
Add to the list of what we are not stating. We are not stating that Jesus existed. We're not stating that. We're not stating that, you know, the inerrancy of Scripture. We're not talking about that, right? We're not talking about whether or not African or African Americans should be Christians. We're not saying that either. Okay? And it's really important that you understand that, because what me and B are going to do afterwards, we're going to do a follow-up show. And that whole follow-up show is going to be dealing with people in the comment section who have a hard time listening. And if you say something that we did not say in this presentation, we're going to make you famous. Because for some reason, people have a hard time listening. So that
BK, apparently you ain't made me famous. So that means I ain't said nothing wrong. I dare you. I dare your fat ass to jump out there.
That the whole thing will be us just screenshotting your comment and saying, see, this person did not listen because this is what we're stating, and now they're stating something else.
Bingo.
All right.
Bingo.
So
what we are stating, right? Christianity existed in pre-colonial West Africa.
What does he say? What did he say he's stating? That Christianity existed in pre-colonial West Africa. Where did you get that from? Where did you get that Christianity existed in pre-colonial West Africa? Where did you get that from? I don't care about nothing else that's going on in this entire bill. I minimize it to your first point because this presentation is about Christianity in West Africa. So where did you get Christianity existed in pre-colonial West Africa? In any of these sources? Where'd you get it from? Name the source and the page number. Name the source and the page number that talks about pre-colonial Christianity in West Africa. Name the source and the page number. You hear? Name it.
Right. So this is a modest claim that we're stating is that we're not even stating something like prior to even European contact. At least we aren't, right? You may see some of our sources state otherwise, but this is what we're stating: pre-colonial, so pre-Portuguese, right? It was significant enough to be documented by Arabs and Europeans. So we're not.
Boom. Point number 2. It was significant enough to be documented by Arabs, plural, Arabs, plural, Arabs, and Europeans. So which Arabs are you referring to? Remember, you said Arabs, brother. We talking West Africa, not East Africa. We talking West Africa. So which Arabs said anything about Christianity being in pre-colonial West Africa? So when I was trying to be forthcoming with information, I wasn't hiding anything. I dealt specifically with the argument. Listen, if I go back and play Vince Bantu again for everybody listening in the audience, he is saying the same shit that Byron is saying in the last 2 slides. And these first 2 bullet points that, according to Arab documents, you can't even say European documents because Europeans ain't even there. They ain't there yet. So they can't document some shit that they ain't even in the area to document. So you only have Arabs. And then you don't even have Arabs because there's no other Arabs writing about no fucking Christianity in West Africa, as mentioned in the presentation.
Talking about how large or how small, but we're all saying that it's significant enough that Arab Muslims and then Europeans later noted on a significant enough scale.
Arab Muslims and Europeans later would document it. It was significant enough to document it later. Hey man, you're making Vince Bantu's argument your argument. No matter what you and BK try to get around, y'all are making Vince Bantu's argument yours. You're trying to marry him on this topic so that you can express a Christian necessity in West Africa. You want motherfuckers to be with this bullshit so bad, bro. You worse than the fucking missionaries. You're worse than the missionaries right now. Y'all black asses in the day of information, where we have more information than we had in the past, and you fucks are still doing missionary work.
Scale that we still have evidence to this day that, hey, this existed. We are saying that other Africans kept the narratives, their oral history. So
see, here we go. Now you really done fucked up. You really done messed up the church's money when you did this. Other Africans kept the narratives. Who? Which source down here says that the Africans that kept the narratives? Who are these Africans? Where are they? Where art thou? See, this is the beauty of scholarship. And here's a lesson, Byron. Here's a lesson. So if you say something like other Africans kept the narratives, I better see other Africans being sourced that kept the narratives. You don't have a single internal source. Not a single internal source from an African during those times saying any of this shit. You know why you don't, bro? Because it would have showed up in numerous works from all the people that have been investigating, studying, and digging around West Africa. We don't have a single thing that we can relate back, but you said it. You said other Africans kept the narratives.
If you are a pro-Black or pro-African or just a student of history, you have to take oral histories of different peoples into consideration. You can't just throw it away because it wasn't written down in some type of way. Artifacts, we're going to talk about artifacts that seem to coincide with the given data.
And you don't have no artifacts that coincide with any data pre-colonialism in West Africa. Remember, I'm not talking about East Africa. I'm not going to North Africa. I am talking specifically about Christianity existing in pre-colonial West Africa. I am very specific in my response to Vince Bantu, which is an indirect response to you, which Leandre said I didn't even deal with you at all. And I'm making the point that I'm actually dealing with you without even having to deal with you when I presented my response.
And then we're going to talk about how Africans' mission evangelize to other Africans. So,
no. Say it how it's supposed to be said. You know, because Leandre like to talk shit about things, right? But it's not Africans missioned, right? Say what they really are, missionaries. How African missionaries evangelized to other Africans. Just tell it. Say it. It's okay to say that the earliest West African converts evangelized. I can't even say the word now. Evangelized to other Africans. Just say it.
Basically, what the Great Commission is telling us to do.
Right. All right. So the gospel in West Africa.
So the gospel of West Africa, I want to
pause one more time, just so I'm being very clear about my argument. Just so a nigga like Leandre can't say, oh, straw man, improper use of a fallacy, because I ain't even making that. You told me that I was making a straw man, but your boy is backing me up on why I'm even presenting this shit. And now you saying there's a gospel in West Africa. Holy shit. The Nigerian knot, kingdoms, oral traditions, Prester John. Oh my geez Louise. We don't even get Prester John until the Portuguese, my nigga. How is you bringing Prester John into the fold? The white man brings Prester John in there. There's no Prester John before the white man. Bro, did you not look that up? Did you not date that shit? There's information on that, bro. Prester John comes when the white man comes. The white man tells the Africans he's looking for Prester John. The same way the white man went to India telling them the same shit. The way the white man used the story to go all these other places. Prester John is a familiar myth used by these white people. The mere fact that you put this in this slide, bro, is disrespectful because no West African knew of a Prester John until a white man said his name. This is a research problem. And once again, this is why I told Garfield, and this is why I told Honey Clark and other people that I did not want to deal with the middleman. Vince Bantu is the guy, and he's still a middleman. But if I'm dealing with anything, I have to deal with the actual source for where it comes from, the original claimant. That's where you deal with the subject. You cut off the head, the body will fall. Y'all are limbs, my nigga.
Talk about as you see 4 or 5 different like bullet points here. There's a thing called the Nigerian knot.
Great question. She says, why do you keep bringing up Vince when he's not mentioning Vince? Because it is Vince Bantu's argument that there was Christianity in West Africa. And you keep asking me why I keep mentioning Vince, because he is the original proponent for this argument. There's no preacher, pastor, or Christian member before Vince Bantu that says or speaks to this. So why do I keep bringing up Vince Bantu? Because he's the first person in a black Christian church and community to come out in the community and say this. No one else is saying this. No one else. That's why I keep saying it. You're asking me, I'm telling you, you got to put 2 and 2 together. This video was done a year ago, right? Yes. The video was streamed a year ago, right? He put this presentation together and it was presented a year ago. I can take you back to 2020 and 2021 and show you, and which I did in my presentation, and showed you Vince Bantu saying this shit about Christianity in West Africa. So until you're familiar with Vince Bantu's argument, which I made everyone aware of Vince Bantu's argument, you can't keep saying, why do you keep saying Vince Bantu? He's not saying Vince Bantu. Because it's his fucking argument.
There's kingdoms. There's actual kingdoms talked about. Oral traditions. Prester John, that's going to be an interesting.
There go that word again. There's actual kingdoms or kingdoms that talk about it.
Interesting when we get to there. And the archaeological accounts. So just keep in mind, I even talk about just briefly the Nigerian knot real quick. And all it's simply stating is that there's if you look at Nigerian knot, it's normally associated with northern Nigeria, but a lot of people, scholars have noted that it's come out of the Berber tradition, the North African tradition, into West Africa, and it is a derivation of them trying to create the cross. So the Nigerian knot has a lot of Christian influence into what we have today. And so when you want to know like what's a West African ancient cross you can look at, maybe look at like the Nigerian knot as a picture, which I actually have.
It ain't one.
Wear sometimes.
It ain't one. It ain't one. The best cross you gonna get, the oldest cross you gonna get is gonna come from the Tuareg, which is the Tuareg cross. And the Tuareg cross ain't got shit to do with Christianity. The Tuareg cross is about directions. You bringing up the Nigerian knot, all you had to simply do was go look up the Nigerian knot. That's all you had to go do was look at the Nigerian knot and see how long it's been around. Did you do that? Because now you're opening yourself up to more susceptible shit. The Nigerian knot.
Cool. All right. Key terms.
Key terms here. Please pay attention. Tropical, savanna, and Sudan. I can't state that enough because what you're going to see is oftentimes these writers are using these 3 terminologies to describe what they mean in what we know today as West Africa. So tropical, savanna, and Sudan. And we're going to do our best.
One more thing about the Nigerian knot. So y'all believe that it's linked to Christian missionaries in the 15th century. That's what just say that y'all believe that it's linked to Christian missionaries. Don't try to not, you know what I mean? You bring it up, but don't try to just deal with it, bro. But anyway, let's go with this shit. Let me be quiet.
Yes, to try to define some of these terms in a second so you can get an understanding.
All right. I'll read this.
Okay, so before he reads this, I just want to reiterate specifically, I am going to be skipping things because they're not going to be dealing with West Africa. When they start talking about Christianity and all this other shit, I'm a play it just a little bit so you can see. And then I'm going to go to where we actually are dealing with shit. Because he says in this video at the beginning that he's leading up to. So I'm going to let it ride right here for a little bit. And then as soon as you start seeing the direction in which he begins, then I'm going to start skipping.
The African savanna biome, is that how you say it? Biome is a tropical grassland in Africa between latitude 15 degrees north and 30 degrees south and longitude 15 degrees west and 40 degrees west. It covers what's that? Oh my gosh.
Guinea,
Sierra Leone, Liberia, Côte d'Ivoire, Ghana, Togo, Benin, Nigeria, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Chad, Sudan, Ethiopia, Somalia, and the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Angola, Uganda, Rwanda, the Burundi, Kenya, Tanzania, Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, Botswana, and South Africa.
Let me pause real quick. So, here's the problem. Y'all are not abos. Christians, y'all are not fucking abos. Y'all don't behave like the abos. Y'all don't intentionally misrepresent data like the abos. Y'all don't put on these fake ass personas and things of that nature like the abos. This is why it is so crazy to me that I have to even do this, because y'all don't behave in the manner of all of these foolish, the Moors, the Hebrew Israelites, you know what I'm saying? Y'all shouldn't even be, oh my God, y'all shouldn't even be here. Y'all shouldn't even be here. This is a conversation that should never have hit the channel. But because of your inconsistencies, misrepresentation, lack of integrity, and honesty, you're here.
That's a lot.
So now, so as you just stated, so you can see in your mind, but get a picture of when we say Savannah, this is the area we're talking. We're not just talking about the coast. It's within the interior of Africa.
Right. The area known as the West.
Time out. I do have one problem though, because this presentation is about West Africa, right? So how did the Sudan, which part of the Sudan, North or South Sudan, or all of Sudan, right? Ethiopia, Somalia, right? How did these specifically come into it, to West Africa? Kenya. Some of these places that you named, I'm not going to name them all because we all see what you got on here. Yes, South Africa, all of that in here. How was all of that associated with West Africa specifically? We know the geographical location for West Africa. But how does these other places get involved in your African savanna in which you're arguing? But go ahead, let me.
Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Songhai that controlled the Western Sudan had no fixed travelers, geographers, and historians who tropical rainforests of, why I keep messing up this word? It's a lot.
So now, so as you just stated, so you can see in your mind, but get a picture of when we say Savannah, this is the area we're talking. We're not just talking about the coast. It's within the interior of Africa.
Right. The area known as the Western Sudan encompasses the broad expanse of savanna that stretches between the vast Sahara Desert to the north and the tropical rainforests of, why I keep messing up this word? It's Guinea,
Yes, sir. Guinea.
Oh gosh, coast to the south. Its name comes from Balad al Sudan, or land of blacks, the term used by the Arabic travelers, geographers, and historians who first wrote of the region's history. The medieval empire of Ghana, Mali, and Songhai that controlled the Western Sudan had no fixed geopolitical boundaries or singular ethnic or national identities.
So that's important. That last statement is so you get an idea of like some of the empires that was going on at the time. But keep in mind, because some people may ask you, okay, so which African were they? Were they Yoruba? Were they Igbo? Were they Mandi? Were they there was no fixed national identity or singular one. There were all these different ethnic groups that made up these different kingdoms.
All right. The Kingdom of Aksum.
So the Kingdom of Aksum is important because I want to lay the groundwork, because this is probably one of the most known kingdoms that we know today within the Christian history. We call the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. It is the oldest and largest sub-Saharan African church that we see today. And it's always the most mystery that everybody wants to say. It seems like everybody wants to stake some type of claim into, like, you guys aren't the Ethiopians, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we're going to kind of talk about what this means and what it doesn't mean. But it existed. The Kingdom of Aksum was modern day Ethiopian Eritrea. It's part of the Great Lakes tradition. So
Pause. So none of this has to deal with West Africa. The Kingdom of Aksum, Ethiopian Eritrea, the Great Lakes region. You know what I'm saying? I like how you slid this in. Oldest independent sub-Saharan African church tradition. Right? Was said that the kingdom was that of the legend of Prester John. Right? Ethiopia reports of missions entering into the eastern side of the Kingdom of Congo. But you don't have any dates for this. Supposed to be reports of missions entering into the eastern side of the Kingdom of Congo, when we all know that Christianity ends using the Portuguese in the Congo regions. But this is what I mean. None of this is related to West Africa. None of it. So I don't understand how we get to a point that we're dealing with West Africa. You know what I mean? Like, let me let it go. A little more.
You have different things in Africa. You have like the Nile Valley tradition. You have the North African tradition, or the Maghreb. You have the Sahel. You have the West African tradition, and this is the Great Lakes tradition, where the Great Lakes within more the central eastern part of Africa. As you stated, the oldest independent sub-Saharan African church. It was said that part of it was where the legend of Prester John was.
And one more thing. When you use the sub-Saharan African thing, that's generalizing again, and that's trying to give a pass to insert. Because when you say sub-Saharan, right, you have to think about this. And I'm just going to say it right now just to be saying it, because this is helpful, what I'm about to say. When you say sub-Saharan, right, when people talk about black people in America, they say people of African descent who live in the sub-Saharan regions of West Africa. You see how they say that, but they're not talking about East Africa. They're not being specific about East Africa or anything along those lines. So that sub-Saharan is you kind of like overgeneralizing it in a way to try to propagate. Be specific. So there's no doubt in question about what it is that you're talking about.
And emphasis on legend, because we'll talk about what that actually means. And this is some important points here. So Ethiopian reports of missions enter into the eastern side of the Kingdom of Congo, and you see here at the bottom the source for that, Ethiopian Congo, a tale of two medieval kingdoms. And so during this time frame, we often hear about the Congo of their first contact with Christianity being the Portuguese. Well, in actuality, in within the Ethiopian tradition, they actually carry this kind of history of.
Now, here's the other problem. And see, this is Garfield lane, bro. I'm not trying to get into Garfield lane. I stay out of Garfield lane and I stay in my own lane. But when you start playing these games right here, then Garfield is going to assert himself into the discussion and start challenging you on what you're saying here. Because you're reporting some stuff and we ain't seeing the stuff that you're reporting. So where is that coming from? What source is saying that? Right? I'm not even concerned about that. Like I said, that's a Garfield thing. But me personally, I'm only here for West Africa.
They were in contact with that other medieval kingdom because they were two very large, powerful medieval kingdoms, the Congo and Aksumite Empire at that time. And so they actually had some missions going.
What time period is this? What time period is the kingdom of this great powerful kingdom of the Congo and Aksum? Like, where are we at chronologically? Is there a date associated with this, or we're just projecting and we're just saying these things and then we're going to proceed forward, right? Because we're talking pre-colonialism, is Christianity in West Africa before the white man appears.
Back and forth, and we're still trying to discover more of those because it's harder to get just that information into not only the U.S. but in English because it's in these different languages.
Okay. This is from early Christianity.
Go ahead, go ahead. You got it.
Early Christianity in Africa, North Africa, the Sahara, the Sudan, Central and East Africa.
Pause. Look at this, ladies and gentlemen. This is early Christianity in Africa, North Africa, the Sahara, the Sudan, Central, and East Africa. This is why I said it is imperative on how he's trying to argue this shit. And see, if I just would have just let this play and never interjected, you wouldn't catch it. All of y'all thinking that he's talking about West Africa, somewhere in early Christianity in Africa, North Africa, the Sahara, and the Sudan. Remember, your focal point is that you hear these phrase words: the Sahara, the Sudan, Central. But it's specific and it's saying East Africa. And then when you listen to the source, it talks about everywhere else that's outside of West Africa until it says today the Bula people live in the northwest of Yola in Nigeria. So the Bula people wasn't there in 525. They wasn't there in 1025. They wasn't there in 1492. Today, the Bula people live in the northwest of Yola in Nigeria. Go pull the source up, look at the date of the book, and the date of the book is going to tell you in reference to what year that they're referring to now. I told you I'm going to be skipping ahead because none of this is laying the foundation for West Africa. Here we go again. This is not comprehensive. More work needs to be done. So he's admitting here that more work needs to be done. But watch what he says. Christian influence in northern savanna areas of tropical Africa is even older than Portuguese influence. It came from three sources: early North African Christianity, medieval Nubia, and European Christians who crossed the desert beginning in the 17th century. Five, the Gospels across the Sahara and from Nubia. Once again, this is going to be Garfield interjecting himself into a conversation, like on some real shit. He want to know where y'all getting this from. It ain't even just Garfield. It's because we talking Christianity in pre-colonial West Africa. None of this is talking about that shit. None of this is addressing that. That's why I said I'm gonna have to skip ahead, because he ain't dealing with the subject matter yet. Here we go. Let me send this PDF to my brother. Let me go back just a little bit. I want y'all to listen to this.
To say, hey, that bullet point 3 probably would move to bullet point 4, and the third bullet point would be the Ethiopians as well. BK, anything you want to add or talk about with this?
No, this is great. This is great.
So here, what do the experts have to say? So evidence of archaeology and Christian symbols in early North African Christianity penetrated the.
Hold on. Listen to him again before I let him go. Evidence of archaeology and Christian symbols, early North African Christianity penetrated the nomadic Berbers very extensively. Is that West Africa? No, it's not West Africa. It's not. Go ahead, read it.
The nomadic Berbers very extensively. This is coming from the same book we just referenced. Even if it's not always deeply and after the Muslim conquest, many of the Christians took refuge in the desert. As a result, Tasmashek's vocabulary still contains Christian terminology.
Hey, if you still hear Byron, Tamashik. I ain't doing you like the elbows, bro. But that's the Tamashik. That's how they pronounce the Tamashik. Just so we on the same page, bro. I ain't even trying to do that to you. But yeah, they call the Tamashik as a result of the Tamashik.
For instance, the word for angel. The Andes cross, similar crosses from other Tuareg towns are likely of original Christian inspiration. The northern knot of Nigeria, as I stated earlier, in its various styles, fits clearly into this cross series. Its depiction on the floor of the ruin of St. Augustine's Cathedral in Hippo, which is in Algeria today, now removed to Pava, demonstrates this.
Where is the date? Chronology, please. You are asserting something from an excerpt out of a certain text because you got quotes and you got this whole thing on here, right? You got quotes and things on here, and we don't know where this is coming from. We don't have a date. We don't have an author. We don't have anything to confirm or deny. We have nothing but an assertion here. So people don't understand it. Right? So again, you're bringing up something like the Nigerian knot. And you didn't say that the knot's origins are believed to be linked to Christian missionaries in the 15th century. So you don't know with certainty if it's linked to Christian missionaries in the 15th century. It is believed to be. So now you got to go and qualify that source to make sure that that's even got anything to do with Christianity. But see, that's when Nigeria comes in and having relationships with Nigerians and being able to confirm the cultural nuances of this, which would prevent error from happening right here. But I'm going to let you dig your own grave because my peoples is watching it too.
And so if you get the book, they actually have a picture of that cathedral that existed in North Africa, and it's literally just like the North African knot. And actually, when I go back on the screen later, I'll show
Dawadari is his name, honey Clark. Why you mad? I'm not jumping down his throat. I just told him I know the pronunciation of the Tamashik. So I just told him the pronunciation of the Tamashik. Why you emotional? Because I ain't correcting him. I ain't jumping down his throat. I ain't talking shit about him saying what he said about it. I just simply offered it up. I said, nah, it's pronounced Tamashik, bro. I know that pronunciation. It's pronounced Tamashik. It wasn't nothing to make light of. You get emotional about it. I mean, I understand. Listen, I understand these dudes is in your chat and you feel some kind of way about your babies. But see, I try to stay away from this shit. But they provoking it because they really wanted a response from me. So now that they really want a response, you got to deal with that shit. You can't get emotional about it because you knew that they were wrong. The entire time you knew that they were wrong and doing biased research and trying to present something to something. You've already argued with them. So now you want to argue with me? You want to go ahead. Defend your babies. I don't give a fuck. That ain't going to make them right.
show you. I actually have one that I just crosses on. It's also often called a Berber cross. Again, with it has a Christian inspiration with it as well too. And these people that you see, the Tasmac vocabulary, that's typically a Berber or Imagine vocabulary, and the Tuareg people are one of the Berber clans that we'll be talking about from North Africa. So, unlike mountainous and insular Ethiopia, which confined Christian evangelization, to the limits of imperial expansion, Nubia spread its influence over the Savannah plains to the west. Ruins of churches and monasteries are found in Darfur and the Chad Ghazal region. Ruins of burnt brick construction of the Nubian.
So, since you don't want my help in helping them say what they should be saying, I ain't gonna tell them how to say that word either. I ain't gonna tell them how to say that word either, even though I know how to say that word. But here go my thing again. This is the problem. It says, unlike mountainous and insular Ethiopia, which confined Christian evangelization to the limits of imperial expansion, Nubia spread its influence over to the Savannah plains to the west. Where west did Nubia expand or spread the influence? Where? When did they do this? When did they do this? Because you're reading this source and it says the Nubian Formate cross found its way to Borno. You said Nubian Formate cross. A cross. So what's the date of the Nubian Formate cross? Do you have a date on the cross? Do you have a picture of the cross? And do you have the Nubians in the area? The evidence. I hear the claims. I hear what you're saying. But you still ain't got Christianity in West Africa. You still ain't showed us Christianity in West Africa. Right? And I'm letting, that's why I'm saying I'm skipping ahead, because every direction you started with, bro, you started in North Africa, East Africa, then you went to Nubia, and now you're extracting a Nubian Formate cross and say it was found in Borno. Prior to that line, you said Nubian inspirations are found as far as Borno. But that don't make it Christian. Just because the Nubians had inspirations don't make it Christian. You don't know what's being inspired in the area of Borno. So in order for you to be able to substantiate that, you're going to have to go and look in the history books on Canaan and Barno, which is in the History of West Africa, Volume 1, which is in Volume 2, which is also in the History of Africa, which is also in the collection series in Part 3 and 4, and 2, 3, and 4 in the UNESCO volumes. Then you got to pull up the Tariq al-Sudan and the Tariq al-Fatish. We ain't dealing with no Nubians bringing a religion to the area.
Of Nubian inspiration are found as far as Bornu. The Nubian Forme cross found its way to Bornu, and as far as Benin City before the Portuguese arrived. So if you ever have a chance, Darfur, Chad, Bornu, Benin, these are all considered West African areas to this day. And what this is saying is that the Nubians had already crossed over with their influence into that part of West Africa.
That is a lie. Where are the Nubians in West Africa? Where are they? Bro, across. You don't even know how the cross got there. That cross could have came through trade. That cross could have came from the Berbers through trade, through the Sahara. That's not how you make the argument for Christianity in West Africa. You're speculating here, and you're really cherry picking because, again, we don't even know how to substantiate this bullshit because we don't know where your claim coming from. We got to read 20 books to find out about Nubian inspiration found as far as Borno.
Before the Portuguese arrived.
You don't even know the source.
I'm probably going to mispronounce this, but they'll be okay. João de Barros, describing the time of discovery, says that when a new king accedes in Benin, an eastern king called Ogane sends him emblems of authority, including a brass cross to be worn around the neck, similar to that worn by the knights in the Order of St. John. A similar but smaller cross was given to the Benin ambassador, which he wore around his neck and which gave him certain privileges while in Ogane's kingdom. The messenger with this cross is always depicted at the bottom of the carved elephant tusk of Benin, as displayed in the Lagos and Benin museums. So yes, if you go to those museums, you will see evidence of this, all prior to Portuguese interaction.
One more time. Describing the time of discovery, say, so this dude, I'm going to pull his name up. This is all you had to do, bro. What is he saying? And I just want to show people this real quick. And then I'm going to have to stop and restart it. And I know that. But right here, this is the person that he's referring to right here in that slide. Right? He's Portuguese. He's Portuguese. Remember what he just ended with. He said, before the Portuguese. But you got somebody that's Portuguese saying these things. You got to be careful. You got to be careful. You got to understand something. Right? So if you go and you look at this dude and go through his earlier years and understand certain things, we already know what he's dealing with. The failed captaincy in Brazil and shipwrecks. He even talk about that shit. That's going way beyond West Africa. But man, you're going to use the Portuguese someone from the Portuguese talking about Christianity and then try to make it predate the Portuguese. The source is Portuguese. He's Portuguese. You're trying to predate him, remember? Why would you use him? You trying to use a source that's Portuguese to disprove Portuguese is not going to happen. You have to look him up. And then what he's describing is that when a new king accedes in Benin, as Eastern king called Ogane, sends his emblems of authority, includes a brass cross to be worn around the neck, similar to that worn by the Knights of the Order of St. John. It is just similar and not the same thing, because now you gotta go qualify what it is that he's talking about in Benin. But did you do that? No. You stuck with whatever this source is telling you, and then you tried to write it out. So what you're doing is you're using similar as a pretense for measurement of Christianity somewhere. You're not showing us Christianity somewhere. You're showing us resemblances, right? And well, this brass cross that they wear resembles that of something that you would see in the Order of St. John. That does not make it that, because you see circumcision in Egypt, in Israel, in West Africa, and in other parts of the world, don't mean that it all came from the book or the belief system. You're doing that. You're doing what the Hebrews were doing back in 2015, 2016. You're misinterpreting the data. Where's the footnote? Where's the actual cross? Right? Let's look at it. Show us the evidence.
The connection between Nubia and Benin can be filled out by writers such as Leo Africanus.
This is my favorite part right here. This is my favorite part right here. This Negro said, the connection between Nubia and Benin can be filled out by writers such as Leo Africanus. My boy. Leo Africanus never went to Benin. He ain't even traveling none of them places he said. Damn, do I need to pull up the book and read it for what it says, where it tells you that he ain't traveling these areas? Why is you sourcing him right here? This is my favorite part, because this I've written about how this motherfucker Leo Africanus is a fraud. He just talking about some shit that he can't even substantiate. We got hearsay alert. We got another motherfucker just talking out his ass about some shit he ain't confirmed. He wasn't in Nubia or in Benin. But you're attesting and using him as a source. And I try to tell y'all this shit before, but it had a problem. I said that you cannot use this dude, bro. He has an agenda. This is the problem that Honey Clark was telling y'all. The one in the chat whose name is The Bar Reloaded. That you can't do biased research. You must research both sides of the argument that'll only make you better in your presentation. So therefore, you have the actual evidence based on. You are believing that Leo Africanus is telling you something about his travels. He didn't even travel to Benin. Let me let you say it.
Who's writing about his travels around 1512 to 1512 to 1514, said that the Gagal people, I'm sorry, somewhere in the Chad Darfur region, highlight here, practiced Christianity, and that the founder of the Mandara kingdom around the Mawari in Cameroon was a Christian. The same assertion is found in the Mandara Chronicle, and Denham heard some Mandaris referred to as Christians even in 1823.
Boom, pause. So, Leo, let me just be clear. Leo Africanus travels around 1512 to 1514. Are the Portuguese, my son here, are the Portuguese in West Africa in 1512 and 1514? Anywhere in West Africa? You know the answer is yes, they are. The Portuguese are already in West Africa. This is not pre-colonial West Africa. They're colonizing Africa right now with missionaries. The Congo is already infiltrated in a Christian kingdom. This isn't pre-colonial. My point is, it's not pre-colonial. The Portuguese are here. And you got Leo Africanus, who never stepped foot in Benin or Nubia, telling you during his travels. You need to read up on the accounts of Leo Africanus, as it will tell you even then that he has questionable accounts. Baturi is the only Muslim that is known for his travels. Outside of Baturi, travels are slim and few in certain areas of Africa.
And so I want to pause here for a second because I think this is important when we're talking about time frames and certain people here. So
look,
Leo,
it's very significant that out of all the slides he done came into, that we finally get to a slide and it's got a date on it, 2 dates on it. One 1512 to 1514, the other one 1823. None of this pre-colonial. Let's go.
Africanus is offering a figure that people talk about when it comes to what Africa looked like. And recently there's been scrutiny around Leo Africanus. I don't know why, stating that maybe he didn't go to the regions in all of Africa that he claimed and that he made things up, right?
So why would you put him on here without qualifying Leo Africanus's account? This is why I said what I said, because if you had the Tariq al-Fatish and the Tariq al-Sudan, you will see that there are problems with Leo Africanus. It is in the writings from Muslims that are telling you that this man wasn't even in the area. He's a converted. He converted from, he was a Muslim at first. He converted to Christianity, and it is known, documented, that he didn't travel in some of these areas as he would use informants about certain things. If you go read his accounts, the man said that there were people in West Africa who sharpened their teeth and eat humans. They are naked and run around, and they are not a stable people. He talked shit about West Africans. And you finna tell me, and in the area that he was referring to and mentioning that, oh, he was right. Come the fuck on, bro. You got to confirm these accounts. You can't sit here and give them to us and then turn around and say, well, there's been some scrutiny about Leo Africanus. No, if it's been some scrutiny, why are you using him? He is the first person that you named referring to a place in West Africa that he's never been. He never been to Benin. He never been to Benin. The Portuguese is here. You just gave us the account from the Portuguese. They're here, bro.
Because he actually would state that in parts of West Africa he went to, it was Christianity. The reason that it was skeptical of Leo Africanus during that time is that honestly, and scholars will tell you this, they didn't believe him because they didn't think that West Africans, when the Europeans got this information from him, were that advanced.
So if they didn't believe him, why do you? You using what you just said. If they didn't believe him, why do you? He didn't go to these places. He was hearing shit and writing about some shit he heard was hearing through other people in them market areas. He got him a little claim to fame and status because he converted from Islam to Christianity, and he got his name changed, and he got a little C on his chest, and he bouncing around like he just got a whole kilo and a whole new block, and he finna go to work on that joint. That's how he feeling when he became a Christian. He said the Pope stamped him. So now he finna just start talking about shit everybody else talking about. Build his name up. It don't matter if he's telling the truth or lying. All this hearsay. Hearsay. It says it. Hold on. Motherfucker think it's a game. Al-Sadi's Tariq al-Sudan to 1613 and other contemporary documents. Timbuktu and the Songhai Empire. In the back of this book, page 272, in the back of the book, Leo Africanus' description of the Middle Niger, Hausaland, and Bornu. Leo Africanus was born Al-Hassan B. Muhammad Al-Wazin Al-Zayati into a Muslim family of Granada that had moved to the Fez in the wake of Christian Reconquista. Just pausing right there. Hold on. Let me see if I can make it a little bit more clear. Where's my article on Balad al-Badan? Hold on. Yeah, buddy. This is why I didn't want to do this, because you got these people that have been sitting here listening to me just keep cutting you off every few minutes. And then me saying what I'm saying here, bro, you got like all this shit going on and nobody, y'all didn't tell me if y'all could hear it or not, but nobody really interested in it. Right. Christians 1823, Garfield, is absolutely correct on the second part of this source. That's what I'm saying. It's not pre-colonialism. It's not. Balad al-Budan. Let me pull up this article real quick. Now this isn't the actual finish. This is the edit. This is an unedited version that I got because it's on Pages. So I know I didn't edit it. I don't edit on Pages. Let me stop sharing my screen and let me do this. And I know y'all don't like to buy books and read the books, or y'all don't like me, and that's fine. I ain't trying to be liked. But I appreciate y'all being here. So, the history of West Africa is a long story of human movements, incursions, displacements, intermixings, of successions of people, and the impact of the beliefs, attitudes, and social organizations, yada, 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 yada. Go through. Let me go to this account. Here we go. All right. Before we deal with Al-Hassan B. Muhammad Al-Wazan Al-Ziyadi and his account, I want to address something mentioned in the Tariq al-Sudan by Al-Sadi's. He writes in chapter 4 of his work about Mali and its provinces, observation, Mali is one of very large, yada, yada, yada. This is what Al-Saidi is writing, going through, yada, 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 going through, yada, yada, yada. So here we go. This is why I said this the unedited version. This shit ain't even lined up right. Okay, so Leo Africanus was born Al-Hassan B. Muhammad Al-Wazin Al-Zayati into a Muslim family of Granada that moved to the Fez in the wake of Christian Reconquista. At the age of 17, sometimes between 1506, listen to me, y'all. At the age of 17, sometime between 1506 and 1510, guess who in West Africa? The Portuguese. He accompanied his uncle on a diplomatic mission to Songhai and may have made another journey a few years later. In 1518, on his return from the visit to Egypt, possibly also Istanbul and the pilgrims to Mecca, he was captured by Sicilian concierge and subsequently presented to Pope Leo X or Leo X. Within a year, the Pope had baptized him and given him the name Johannes Leo de Mercedes, the later element of which was dropped in favor of the name Africanus. He stayed in Italy and wrote his description of Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, 8 wonders of the world. Where was this dude at when he wrote his description of a description of Africa? He was in Italy. He also taught Arabic at the University of Bologna. It also uncertain whether he died in Italy or returned to North Africa. This information is important because we have to identify and understand the perspective of Leo Africanus and his influence on scholarship in Africa, but specifically West Africa. He is known for his publications titled The Descriptions, which Hrbek writes he completed in 1526, was first published in Italian in 1550, and was soon translated into French, Latin, and English. Its principal focus is Mediterranean Africa, but it also contains a description of parts of the Sahara and the Western Sahel. But what I find interesting is what Hrbek says next. While we have little reason to doubt that his descriptions of Timbuktu and Songhai are based on personal observation, recent scholarship has thrown doubt on his claim to have visited Hausaland and Bornu, suggesting that he gained his information from other travelers while in Gayo or Agadez. This does not necessarily invalidate the information he provides, though his accounts must be read more critically. One must also bear in mind that he was at least aware of al-Bukhari's 11th century account of West Africa and had probably read it, and perhaps the account of al-Idrisi written in the following century. It is apparent that he sometimes drew upon these writers for geographical information about the river Niger Nile, and perhaps supplemented his personal observations with materials of theirs. So, could Leo Africanus' accounts be based on someone else's perspective, or did he formulate his opinion on Balad al-Sudan and pass them off as if he bears witness to who actually ruled West Africa? Let's review his observation word for word. I went word for word on his observations. He says, the ancient geographers such as al-Bukhari and al-Musaidi wrote nothing about the lands of blacks except for el-Geech and Ghana. In fact, in their days, nothing was known about the land of the Negroes, but they were discovered about 380 of Hijra, because then the Lamtuna and all the population of Libya became Muslim, thanks to the propaganda of the preacher who in addition pushed that the Lamtuna could conquer the whole of Barbary. Then people began to visit the lands and get to know them. They all are inhabited by men who live like beasts, without kings, lords, republics, governments, or customs. They hardly know how to sow grain. They dress in sheepskin. None of them has a wife of his own, who belongs to him alone. During the day, they graze cattle or work the soil. By night, 10 or 12 men and women share a hut. And each one sleeps with the one who pleases him most, resting and sleeping on sheepskin. Based on the description given above, it is safe to say that Leo Africanus has a very negative perspective of blacks in West Africa, and it frustrates him at the way they behave and carry themselves differently from what he may be used to. As he continues, no one makes war on anyone, and no one steps outside his territory. Oh, that's a key phrase right there. I know who don't like to hear that shit. Some worship the sun and prostrate when they see it rising above the horizon. Others, such as the people of Walata, worship fire. Yet others are Christian in the style of the Egyptians. Such is the case of the people of the region of Kawar. Joseph, the king of the founder of the Marrakesh, and the 5 people of Libya gained the power of these blacks and taught them the Muslim law and what was necessary for them to lead their lives. Many became Muslims. It was the Barbary merchant began to visit these lands to trade different types of merchandise, so much so that they learned their languages. The 5 peoples of Libya divided up the lands among themselves, and each of these peoples of Libya had 3 of these parts. It is true that the present king of Timbuktu, Al-Bukhar, Asia Inchia, is of the black race. He had been named Captain General of Sunni Ali's king of Timbuktu and Gayo, and of Libyan origin. Here we have identified that foreigners from a distant land traveled to West Africa freely and civilized the Negroes and taught them Muslim way. How ironic that a tribal people wouldn't make war with one another and choose to live peacefully within the confines of their territory. These boring blacks who worship the sun, fire, and other things, not living according to the perspective of others, had to be saved by 5 Libyans who ruled all 3 parts of the land and brought fortune, fame, and excitement to West Africa. I will continue this account. However, y'all can find it in a book. My problem here is I'm outlining the issues with Leo Africanus and his claims and attestations about West Africa, in which he wasn't visiting very much. And yes, he wrote very negatively. Moving forward.
Simply put, they thought that he was making the story up, so A, it was impossible for him to visit all these regions, and B, that these regions were so advanced, there's no way that these were actually real, that he was fantasizing, which we know, in fact, that he was telling the truth now that, yeah, these...
How did you know that he's telling the truth now? Who told you that he's telling the truth now? Leo Africanus wasn't even in these areas. He knew nothing about West Africa. Nothing. He had a negative interpretation, which is why I read the accounts that I read to you, merely citing him, himself, saying that the motherfuckers didn't know shit. They were uncivilized and the boring people who didn't know territory. He said all of those things. And now you want to sit here and say, oh, now we know that he's telling the truth. How? How do you know? How do you know he's telling the truth? How? He knew very little about West African history. None of the kings, the gold that was there, none of that shit. How is he telling the truth? He called the people in Walata the small kingdom of a mediocre condition compared to other kingdoms of blacks. In fact, they only inhabited places of 3 large villages. And he never was in Walata. He talked about Jin. He said he called Ganeo an African merchant by its people of Guinea and by the Portuguese. Oh, the Portuguese is there again. Like, bro, how is you coming to the conclusion that he know what the fuck he talking about? You know what? I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to let you talk. My bad.
Regions within West Africa were very much so civilized and advanced. And then, again, as you see here, as far early as 1823, because it's important to know that when we talk about the tropical savanna, Sudanic regions of West Africa, many the colonialists didn't really get into the interior of West Africa until sometime in the late 17th to even early 1800s. That's when you start to get these accounts. So prior to contrary belief, they were not in the interiors. They were just held to the coast of West Africa for a very long time. BK, anything you want to add to it?
Nah, man, you're cooking. You're cooking.
Good, man. So this is fun. The only tradition surviving is that of the Kawar migration from Egypt to the Sudan, Nubia, and then west to the Benue and Niger River valleys. Some authors would like to see the Kawar migration as one of Nubians, but this is disputed. And I want to pause here to say this, and we'll see this. Well, actually, you know what? I'll finish reading this and then I'll explain later in a second. Further up the Benue, the Bata and Chaba or Bachama peoples also hold to a Kawar legend and claim that they originate from the Sotuku or Gobar people. The validity of this claim has likewise been challenged. Even so, a similar claim was made for the Gobar people by, and I'm going to butcher this name, so you apologize, Abdalkokar ibn al-Mufa in his Ratat al-Afar, written in 1824 to 1825, that they originated.
You got another date, 1824 to 1825, that they originated from the Copts of Egypt. You see what I'm saying? None of this is pre-colonial West Africa. So he wants y'all to sit through all of this shit, and I'm going to let you until I start skipping some more, because I have to show you the pattern. Everything that they're talking about is during an era and time where the Portuguese are already fucking there. And the mere fact that he wanted to use racist as, descriptive as, line as Leo Africanus to substantiate some shit that in places he's never been is crazy. Leo Africanus give attestations of 15 places in West Africa. No trader, no king, no Muslim writers ever wrote about having conversations with Leo Africanus in any of these places in West Africa. There's no internal or external sources that put Leo Africanus in these places. That is the problem that you have, is that you based it. So in 27 minutes of your presentation, the first attestation of an Arab that you're using is Leo Africanus, who was a converted Christian. He was Muslim before he was Christian. And he already had a negative interpretation of the people below the Sahara. Even told you that. Disrespectful.
From the Copts of Egypt. It matters little whether these legends are historically true or not. They only serve to confirm the penetration of Christian cultural influence from Nubia into the northeastern Nigeria and along the Benue Niger to Benin. So it's important here for us to talk about honestly in academics, right? Often you hear people talk about.
Hey, I will say this though, bro. Byron, if you listening, respectfully, it's hard to cuss you out like I do the Abos and everybody else, bro. It is your temperament. Your temperament prevents me from like full throttle, like for real. Like you don't know what you're doing, but you've made errors along this way, and the mere fact that you think you believe this to be speaking in reference to pre-colonialism is crazy. But your temperament, right, it is helping you, bro. Because I'm on the, if this was anybody else, I probably would have cussed you smooth the fuck out. Because I know that I'm wasting other people's time playing this shit. Just straight up and down. I'm letting your information, your screenshot show. And then the moment you start using a chronology and sharing dates, all of that shit is outside of pre-colonialism. Leo Africanus himself is outside of pre-colonialism. He don't even know and infiltrated West Africa like that. He don't. He just think that shit normal. By the time he's 17, all these fucking Portuguese people are already in the area doing their thing. He like, shit, that's what I don't know nothing else but that. He ain't got no accounts of nothing pre-colonialism. That's why I don't know why you using this nigga.
Try to speak in absolutes, and no scholar says this and no scholar says that. Well, here in this in textbooks that we have and things that we're talking about is that we see scholars admitting that, hey, not every single one agrees with us on this data, but because there's so much data about it from different sources, it serves as a confirmation to show, hey, there's some type of significant penetration that's going on, that while all these different legends and accounts from people groups in different regions of West Africa kind of having this similar origin stories, something is going out.
No one's having a similar origin story. No one. You haven't given a single attestation from a West African perspective. There's no all of this information is flowing from the east to the west that you're referring to, and they're all coming in through bias method. You keep referring to the Nubians, but then it's also telling you that this shit is disputed. So every mention that you're making is later on, bro. This is later on. I can't even show you why would the Nubians leave the fucking Nile to go west when they can go right on up into Upper Egypt and do trade and do business? They don't need to go west. If they were migrating anywhere else, we would see the migrational patterns and we would have the evidence to support that. We would be free and clear of any humps, bumps, lumps in the road. You're throwing shit again at the wall and hoping something would stick. And you're using the same source over, as a matter of fact, earlier on in this presentation. And I can tell that because of the way that the source is saying certain things. Whatever that source is that you're using, it's the same one so far. And it's not multiple sources.
Something going on here. And the conclusions that the scholars are saying is, with the last highlighted statement that you see, is that they only serve to confirm the penetration of Christian cultural influence. So you see now they're admitting that there's dispute, but the fact that there's so much.
Who the fuck is confirming anything? We ain't got no evidence to say that there's a confirmation for anything. We got to be honest. We just can't say that. At the 29:31 mark, bro, you assert that these people, whoever they are drawing a conclusion. And you haven't shown the evidence of that. Bro, you brought up one thing like the knot. You brought up another thing about Benin. You're trying to use them for archaeological argument because they look similar. The key word in all of that is similar. It's not the same. Similar and same. There's a difference there, right? Because people don't think that humans can develop homogeneously this own thing in their own area that means something specific to it. It's got to be related to Christianity. Well, I learned a long time ago studying Egypt, right? Learning about Egypt and all these other differences, that when I started to see like the Hebrews arguing for some of these things that we see and find in Egypt, I just understood humans more. Like farming don't come out of Africa, it's somewhere else. But farming in Africa is totally different in a sense. And I say totally different in a sense because it's learned through trial and error as it is learned through trial and error elsewhere. We have to get out of our own way in thinking that all this shit is stemming and coming from one place. That's the mistake that we're making. Right? But here we go again. We're listening to you, Byron, and you're concluding without evidence.
Of this evidence out there, something of significance is going on.
Right. So whether or not there's a direct genetic connection, there's a definite folklore connection. Right. The information is coming from.
We ain't got no folklore from anywhere in Western Africa. Not a single origin story mentioned. There hasn't been. So why are y'all saying this shit? Why? You know what? Here's the thing. You're doing the same thing that the NOI, the FOI, and all these goddamn sub-chapters or branches of this fucking Islam and shit in America. Because they make some similar arguments, but they make it about, instead of you doing like y'all are doing the Christian thing, they do it with Islam and Muslims. They do it with Muslims like all day long. Like they try to claim everything that was great of this empire that happened because motherfuckers converted to Islam. That's their shit. This, that, and the third, and then they'll say fuck West Africa as a whole, only until it benefits them, and then they'll jump right to Mecca. Craziest shit that I've seen. Crazy. We can't even find a church, a pre-colonial church in West Africa. I want you to think about that. We don't even find pre-colonial burials the way the Christians buried people in a certain direction. We don't even have that anywhere in West Africa. We don't see these pendants. We don't see the cross showing. We don't have that. But y'all are trying to say these stories are aligning. No, nigga. Whatever source that you're using is arguing for a Christian presence, but they're actually arguing later than pre-colonial. Because here it is again, and we start to see this 1823, 1824, 1825. And then the similarities of practice that would go back to the Copts of Egypt.
Somewhere.
Right.
So, right.
And we see this today, BK. Like if something happens, you know, and people are like, well, I don't know the exact reason or the exact statement of what has happened, but you have 10 to 12 people having similar accounts. Like that means, you know,
we ain't even got no accounts, bro. What do you mean? When you say 10 to 12 people having accounts, that means you got internal sources all saying the same shit. Not somebody externally trying to align themselves. And you have not showed us who these people are, what they're saying, and where you got it from. We have to figure that shit out. We're on a wild goose chase. Why are you saying that Nubians came to West Africa? Who is the source for that? You ain't even got Muslim writers saying no shit like that. If we go and we look at the coming of Christianity in the West Africa, there's no goddamn war. Where's the war between the Muslims and the Christians? Why would the Muslims allow you to come so freely into fucking West Africa like that? After they fought your ass up in that Mediterranean area in North Egypt. And when I say your ass, I'm talking about Christians, the early Christians. Everybody keep forgetting that.
Something was going on to where people have this shared experience. We see this all the time in like ancient writings.
What people? Because you ain't showed not one person in West Africa with a shared experience as it pertains to Christianity. So what are we talking about? We don't have a timeline. We don't have the primary evidence. We don't have any internal sources, and we ain't getting no oral traditions from nowhere near Africa, West Africa, regarding the coming of motherfuckers. But what we do have, and this is what's beautiful about having this conversation, is what we do have is when the white man showed up and they brought Christianity, the motherfuckers in Africa, all throughout West Africa, they start building these little doors. These hidden doors is what they call them. These sculptures, these artifacts that resembled the white people that came into West Africa, and they placed crosses on them. And all the people in West Africa are showing that same similar pattern on how they're finally seeing white people for the first time, a lot of them, and then how they're bringing the religion with them and how it's being infiltrating and dealing with the cross-cultural differences and the nuances of that. The whole time, they ain't even dealing with Arabs at that point. They dealing with the indigenous people that are Muslim converts. And if Christianity is so headstrong, it didn't even penetrate much because a lot of these motherfuckers remain Muslim. The majority of them. So no, and guess what? They was taxing the Jews. So how is this what it is? You said Christianity in West Africa, we ain't seen it yet.
Writings when people have similar account stories, that means something was going on, right? Whether you believe one story or the other, you can at least admit that, like, hey, there's a shared experience that people are trying to recount.
We ain't seen it. Look at this. Look at this. So, before he even talked, I told y'all that I would skip ahead, but something in me said do not do it. And the reason that I did not do it, because I wanted y'all to see from the beginning of this conversation, where he started at the 5-minute mark, up into 25 minutes into this presentation, he has been talking about the East the entire time. And he's bringing the flow from the East to North to West, or East directly across the Sahara into the West, and has yet to put a timeline or evidence based on it. Only his rendition of what he believes, based on the shit that he cherry picked out. So no, I'm not finna listen to this slide. As you can see it, he's talking about Coptic Nubia. I don't give a fuck about Coptic Nubia. That ain't West Africa. Then he gets the next slide shows up North Africans. And then he gives you an overview of that shit. And then he's finna fuck you all the way up with that. That still ain't West Africa. Then he comes here off of that next source. And what is he talking about? In North Africa, the inhabitants along the coast, talking about the Mediterranean, were Christians. And furthermore, the Christian message had already penetrated Numidia. This ain't West Africa. It ain't. Why is you lying? Why is you showing this shit? Then you're going to show Berbers. Same shit. North Africa. This is not West Africa. Now I can do all this skipping shit because I'm showing y'all. Look, as a consequence of the Arab suppression movement among the Berber tribes began, especially among the Western Sanhaya, who pushed into the Western Sahara on the bend of the Niger in the 3rd century, 9th century AD. Levtzion Berbers were still Christians. Who the fuck cares about the Berbers? We here for the people in Balad al-Sudan, the land of the blacks. This ain't got nothing to do with the land of the fucking blacks. Here we go. Look at this book. 1975. The Berbers in West Africa. Again, why the fuck are you giving us Berbers? We don't care nothing about no motherfucking Berbers. The Berbers converted to every religion that benefited them as it pertains to controlling the trade routes so that they could be the ones that everybody needed as the taxi cabs to get them from point A to point B. They knew the law of the land. They knew where water was. They knew where you could seek shelter. And they knew when you needed protection. They were taxi cabs. That's why those Berber Tuaregs are who they are. They converted to every religion they could. Them motherfuckers was career religion hoppers. Why is you bringing this up? Oh, let me show y'all why he brought this up. The trans-Saharan trade. So now you admitting the trans-Saharan trade where Arabs enslaved Africans and sent their ass back to the Arab world. 7th century. Still no Christianity. Has nothing to do with it, bro. Why would you bring this up? Let's go next. The Savannah region. Lo and behold, if I let him read all of this shit, he's gonna talk to you about some shit that ain't got nothing to do with West Africa again. The Savannah region is naturally hospitable to both the agriculture and livestock. So fucking what? Where is Christianity? Show it to us. Then you go to your next source, which is a YouTube video that you're citing, Christian Africa, Medieval Africa, 300 to 1600 CE. The Hutchins Center of African and African American Research at Harvard University, blah, 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 blah. Means nothing. This entire slide is not showing me your religion, Christianity, or a kingdom in West Africa that's ruled by Christians or a Christian community at all. Then y'all come back and then you start doing this shit. You start being disingenuous. This is the disingenuous part. And the reason that I'm not gonna speak to this at all, because I don't feel like cussing you out. I don't. I really don't, bro. You talking about Lake Chad and then this over here ain't none of that. You got a whole, this head right here ain't got nothing to do with no Christianity. But you got all this shit up and you trying to talk about a wall. Nigga, that wall ain't got a goddamn thing to do with y'all. Then you start talking about it. This is it right here. So I'm finna show y'all something. This is it. This nigga got all this shit up here, but watch what he say. Let me go back. Watch what he say watch what he get ready to say about Nigeria.
Rex. What is the source of this? We simply do not know. People could have been.
Look, he playing the white lady. My bad. He playing the white lady video right here. Right? He playing the white lady video. But why is Ife in here? Why is Ife in here? Let's listen to the white lady.
Traveling from Ife and elsewhere it was a major trade center. People could have been coming into this area, and whether one is talking about Ife or other Yoruba and Hausa centers, many of them carry the same plan.
Has nothing to do with Christianity. The way they design their city has nothing to do with Christianity. They've been designing their cities that way, right? But you're fishing so bad that you played this white lady video that didn't help you. Then you came out of that, you came back to your presentation, and now you're in the 1700s. The Journal of African History. In 1700s, reporter Tripoli reached the congregation of the propaganda affiliate in Rome that Christians, little unrestricted in the faith, were living in Bornu. In the 1700s, I ain't even interested in that because that ain't pre-colonial. I'm not interested in it. Then you go on to continue, same source. They talking about the same 1700 time frame, same source, which is irrelevant. Then you come back to another video. You say this before coming to the next video. It is suggested, therefore, that the reports of the French Council and the Franciscans, although garbled and consisting in the main of the second-hand evidence, strengthen the possibility that the Maltese crosses used among the Jukan and the Nupe and the Benin indicate an influence. Here you go again. Talking about this goddamn influence you mentioned earlier. Same, similar. The arts of pre-colonial Africa. You play this lady video. She talking about Benin. Man, these white people ain't influencing shit. Then you get a cop, because a video is a Coptic center in medieval West Africa, reframing Prester John and early global trade. This is the problem, is that I know you taking this lady out of context. Because if I go back here and play this video, bro, it's a problem. But once again, you ain't dealing with shit. Now you trying to talk about a Coptic center in medieval West Africa? Let's look that up. Because we all want to go to this center. So there's an article, right? I believe it's written by the same lady. Suzanne Preston Blair. It's the same lady, I think. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, because her video is linked to it. Right? So the video that's on the screen is linked to it. I'm gonna drop it in the chat. Because this shit was done in 2019. But I don't be playing no games when it comes to the information, bro. This is what I'm saying. Like, I'm not interested in none of this shit y'all talking about, bro. I'm gonna stick to my point and I'm gonna be specific. And as a matter of fact, damn, it did that bullshit again. There you go, right there. So hold on one second. StreamYard, it messed up. All right, there we go. I'm back. All right, so let me X out of that. Let me go back to this. All right, I gave y'all the source. So all of this, right? And then she get to talking. They come up out of that video. And now we're dealing with a Coptic center in medieval West Africa, reframing Prester John in the early trade lecture by this lady. And she said, this paper explores the importance of new technologies in the art of historical study of medieval West Africa and how related methodologies both help us understand the important art and the architectural landscape here in this period, and how Africa and the Eastern Coptic Christian world helped to reshape Africa in this area. She's telling you She's telling you, right? Okay. All right. That's her argument. Then it goes on and it says Europeans did not enter the interior of Africa at any success prior to the 19th century. This is the only documented European in West Africa prior to the 15th centuries. Jerome Frere sailed from blah, 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 West African coast to legendary River of Gold in 1346, but the outcome of the quest is his fate of is unknown. Based on the time period, Europeans could have documented any settlement or exploration. Why would you say this on a slide, bro? We don't know where none of this shit coming from. Here we go. Notice, he said he got sources. Passing, therefore, westward from the island of Sian, you've entered into the province of Nubia. Once again, back to Nubia. Fuck, man. Go on and go on and go on. Fuck the Jews, fuck Muhammad. Because they talk about that at the end. I told y'all he was wasting our goddamn time. But he returned and answered, yada, 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 yada. Still talking Nubians, Rome, and all that old shit. We don't care nothing about none of that. Or Mohammedanism. We don't care. Council of Chaldean, Egypt, Ethiopia, all this shit. None of this has anything to do with West Africa. He said all of this stuff. Played 2-3 videos. And his best argument was Nubians bringing the shit across the water. That's his argument of his own. And there's someone else who makes that argument. Then we get here.
Are related to the pre-Islamic Berberdom and to the Christian after Ait, the father of Ida, which is the title. Ida is also a town in the river Niger today. Let's keep going. Keep going. I wonder what this means. The Yoruba or Kun, however, are related to the pre-Islamic Berberdom and to the Christian empires of the Nile.
No, they ain't. The Yoruba ain't related to no motherfucking pre-Islamic Berberdom or no Christians. Tell people why you think that the Akan and the Yoruba think they come from some Berbers, pre-Islamic Berbers, and then to the Christian empires of the Nile and Abyssinia. Why the fuck would these people be that? You ain't even making no sense. Because you trying to cherry pick so hard, you ain't even giving us full context. And you keep making this Egypt and Coptic Benin, man, Coptic Egypt and this Benin and the Yoruba and all, you keep doing that, bro. That is not how that shit goes. When we follow the wanderings of the peoples of the Kasari legend, because this is the only legend you get, because you ain't mention no other legend. We should make a special observation concerning Nigeria, namely a repeated appearance of the village named Nasawara. One village is near Yola, one near Kefi, and one of the west of Gasul. The village name Nasara shows that the Hausa word Nasara. You see, listen. Where you at, Honey Clark? Hold on. I'm not finna continue until then. And then this nigga makes this money. Where did you get this from, my nigga? Byron, where you get this from? Where did you get this from? Honey Clark, where you at? Hold on. I think it's a motherfucking game. Ain't no motherfucking game. Where you at? Put a 1 in the chat. You still here listening? Put your 1 in the chat, man. I know you just hit me on message. Hold on, y'all. I will not proceed forward. You listening? I need you to listen right now. I'm about to make myself clear. So earlier, Honey Clark, who is listening, asked me, why did I keep saying Vince Bantu's name? Right? She's like, he ain't saying Vince Bantu though. He ain't saying Vince Bantu. Why do you keep saying Vince Bantu's name? So right here on this screen, I want you to read what it is saying here. When we follow the wanderings of the people of the Kawar legend, we shall make a special observation concerning Nigeria, namely a repeated appearance of the village name is Nasara. You see what he doing here? One village is near Yola, another Kefi, and one of the nearest in Gasu. The village name Nasara shows the Hausa word Nasari equals Christian. Houseway, which is taken from the Arabi in Nasara, country or place of the Christians. So the Hausa land is now the place of the Christians? Really? You want to do that? Where did you get this? Where did you get that translation from? Oh, don't worry. I know where you got it from. So let's continue. He puts here, early Christianity in Africa, North Africa, the Sahara, the Sudan, Central and East Africa. None of this says West Africa. He says, in the case of merchants pushed their way down south from Ergobir, Canaan, Kukuyi, Nubia, they possibly may have met near the Nasara gate of Kano, which is one of the wall gates built in the 12th century under Sakriura, which the ruler Rumfa, 1463 to 1490, reinforced. Bochi, or nor them in Nigeria, was called Jokuba at the early times, named after a woman. The Tiv who live close to the Jukin have a sky god who they call Ayando. And they're translating this word to equal heaven. How sway. Then he shows Prester John. As I told y'all before, there is no legend of Prester John before the Portuguese arrived, but he's making an attempt anyway. During the 14th century, Abyssinian missionaries had reached the courts of Europe, while Dominican missionaries made it as far as Central Africa. Thus, by the end of the century, it was commonly agreed in Europe that Prester John was a ruler of Abyssinia. In one version of the legend, Prester John is said to have retired in Abyssinia after he was defeated by the Genghis Khan, thus making a connection between the stories of the 14th and 13th centuries. So, Denise, you ask me, why am I mentioning Vince Bantu when he ain't said nothing about Vince Bantu? Who is this on the screen? Who is this on the screen? I'm asking you a question. You ain't on speaker. Who is this on the screen? It's who? Say it loud one more time. It's who?
Vince Bantu. What the fuck?
Thank you. So now you see why I said he making Vince Bantu argument is because it is Vince Bantu's argument.
Why can't it be that Vince Bantu
No.
the same argument?
Ain't no Vince Bantu. Look, he got him. He quoted him February 5th. And you know how old this is? Vince Bantu been doing this shit since 2020. This dude comes up with a presentation 4 years later. The only thing that he get argued for, right, is that he's taking a path of trying to put Christianity from Nubians into West Africa. Let me continue. That ain't it. So why did he hold on? He just don't go to Vince Bantu. He just don't go to Vince Bantu. Listen to what he say. Listen to what he say.
This great Christian ruler, if there wasn't a couple of Christian rulers, right? So
there's no Christian ruler in Africa by the name of Prester John. There is no Christian ruler of any kingdom in West Africa. Why the fuck is y'all popping like y'all popping? We don't even get Prester John into the Portuguese, my niggas. Why is y'all popping like y'all popping? I should have let it play so people could hear y'all, how confident that y'all was sounding. Now finna hurt your fucking feelings.
That's it. So this is coming from great esteemed scholar, Dr. Vince Bantu.
Who?
And
what you call this nigga? What you call this nigga?
And I'll read it just as he stated. The receiver. So this is coming from great esteemed scholar, Dr. Vince Bantu. And
he called Vince Bantu the great esteemed scholar, Vince Bantu. And I'm going to read it as he stated. Here we go. Look how confident they are. The receipts continue. I'm still grinding on this article on the spread of the Bizarit gospel in West Africa before colonialism. But today I finally got a hold of the Arabic edition of Ibn al-Dawadari's chronicle, which included Mansa Musa's claim that he had Christians. Remember, he claimed that he had Christians. Mansa Musa don't even claim that he had Christians in his kingdom.
And I'll read it just as he stated. The receipts continue. I'm still grinding on this article in the spread of the Bizarit gospel in West Africa from before the colonialism. But today I finally got a hold of the Arabic edition.
Hey, hear me. Motherfuck you. Don't insinuate anything. Nigga, you lost the last few debates. Ain't nobody listening to your motherfucking ass tell somebody what they better do. I ain't got to play shit. I can commentate because up until this point, we ain't even in fucking West Africa until we get to this point where we start trying to deal with some shit. And I don't even want to hear none of that bullshit about Prester John. We don't even get the myth or the legend of Prester John until the Portuguese arrive. So here we are. The shoulder of the whole shit show begins right here. We went a whole hour and 19 minutes, and this is where you begin.
Of Ibn al-Dawari's chronicle, which included Mansa Musa's claim that he had Christians, Nasari, in his Mali kingdom in the 1330s. There is a longer story of acquiring this text in the middle of a pandemic, but praise be Tilly God for bringing this to light. Full articles on the way. So I think the next slide may show you just the example of that article, as I think most of us.
Pause for station identification. So the dear brother don't have this in his sources. He don't have this in his sources. But when I told y'all that he is making an argument based off the back of Vince Bantu, I'm not lying. Did he add some shit prior to all of that bullshit? Absolutely. Do I give a fuck about it? Hell to the no. Can I deal with it? Absolutely. Can I take the Nubians out of West Africa? Or the Christians that they're saying bringing Christianity to West Africa? I absolutely can. Using this same Corpus text that he got on the screen, I can do that. It's very easy to do because there is no mention of Nubians entering in West Africa from the East, being the people of the book. The people of the book doesn't appear from any Muslim writer at any point in time. And Mansa Musa's account doesn't even say that he saw Christians. So this is where all the confusion lies, is at this moment that we have come to, that I've wasted 2 hours of your time. How much time have I wasted of y'all goddamn time? 2 hours and 45 minutes. We can't get it back. So now we've come to the point of no return.
Of us in the UA have seen this and seen people talk about it in some way, form, or fashion, and you can see the text right here.
So he don't own the text, and here go the text. So he mentions Vince Bantu first. He mentions Vince Bantu, and he reads off a Facebook quote that he screenshot and put toward Vince Bantu. Then he puts up a picture of the corpus in which he does not own. Then he puts up a page from the corpus, and it's missing everything else. And then someone in the Bar Reloaded's chat told me that I was committing a straw man fallacy because I focused on Christianity in pre-colonial West Africa and where the noise came from. So now we're back to Dawadari's account. We are back to the corpus text. You see this little 3 right here, and you see this little 4 right here. There are footnotes that neither you nor Vince Bantu ever checked, and it's too late. We already brought them out. You didn't even talk about Kawar. Nothing there. You try to insinuate all up into the point. So right here in the corpus, on what you're using, it said, I heard the Katie, Fakhr al-Din, inspector of the victorious army, say, who the fuck is I, right? And you're hearing it, so you're not attesting it. Now we got to go back to the corpus because he didn't want to give you this shit. Niggas just taking screenshots out of shit. I ain't even tell people where the fuck they getting it from, the page number, none of that silly ass shit. You want us to do all the motherfucking work to try to qualify y'all sources and then get to a point that y'all can't even get to. It's page number 250 in the fucking corpus. And it mentions in the year of, well, before we get out of that, it says, Abukar, B. Ab Allah, B. Hrbek al-Dawadari, Khans al-Duwar, Wajami al-Guwar, Part 9, Elder al-Fiqh, Fisaret al-Malik al-Nasir. This is edited by H.R. Romer in Cairo, Egypt in 1960. He says, in this year, 724/1324, the king of Kawar arrived making the noble Hajj. His name was Abukar B. Musa, sorry. And that wasn't his goddamn name, but whatever. He remained in Egypt for a year before betaking himself to the Hajj. He had much gold with him. His is the country which puts forth gold. I heard the Katie, Fakhr al-Din, inspector of the victorious army, say, I asked the king of Kawar, how is the description of the place where gold grows with you? And he replied, it is not in the part of our land which belongs to the Muslims, but it is the land which belongs to the Christians of Kawar. We dispatch collectors to take from them a species of tribute due to us and obligatory upon them. There are special lands which put forth the gold in its fashion. It consists of small pieces of various sizes, some like little rings, some like carob seeds, and the like. The Katie, Fakhr al-Din, continued, because y'all didn't know who was speaking. The Katie, Fakhr al-Din, continued, I said, why don't you take the land by conquest? So let me rewind. Fakhr al-Din is talking to Musa. El-Dawadari is not in the room. He's nowhere near the room. Anyone insinuating that he was in the room is lying, because there's an extra footnote that takes you to another passage where the informant is identified and he says the shit. So if you go to, it's not even on the screen. It says, the Caliph al-Din continued, I said, why don't you take this land by conquest? He replied, if we conquer them and take it, it does not put forth anything. We have done this in many ways and but seen but nothing there. But when it returns to them, it puts forth as usual. This is most amazing thing, and perhaps due to an increase in oppressiveness of the Christians. So when you go to footnote 4, Mansa Musa described also 2 other forms of gold. You got to go back to 267, which is not on Dawadari's account, but someone else's account, Al-Adrisi. Then it says on the same 267, where the informant was the Sheikh Al-Dukuli. He says that the land of gold belonged to infidels. So when we go to 267 of the Corpus, because we don't have anything calling them Nasari, but we have them calling them infidels. There's an issue. So Al-Umari, I said Al-Drisi, Al-Umari's account is on page 267. Boom. The Emir al-Hassan, Ali Amir Hajib, told me that he was often in the company of the Sultan Musa, the king of this country, when he came to Egypt on a pilgrimage. Bro, I don't know who this is. Jesse O'Brien is. Why is he asking me for another Honda? Bro, I already paid him. Hold on 1 second, y'all. 1 second. Hold on that. Why are you requesting another 100? Niggas ain't even communicate. All right, anyway. Musa, the king of the country, when he came to Egypt on a pilgrimage, he stayed in the Kawar, the district of Cairo. Ibn Emir Hajib was the governor of Old Cairo. Kafari, at the time, a friendship between them grew. The Sultan Musa told him a great deal about himself and the country of people in the Sudan who were his neighbors. One of the things which he told him was that his country was very extensive and contagious with the ocean. By his sword and his armies, he had conquered 24 cities each, with its surrounding district, with the villages and estates. It is a country rich of livestock, cattle, sheep, goats, horses, mules, and of different kinds of poultry, geese, doves, chickens. The inhabitants of this country are numerous, a vast concourse, but compared with the others of the Sudan, who are the neighbors and penetrate far to the south, and like the white birthmark on their black cow, he has a truce with the gold plant people who pay him tribute. He's describing who he's talking about. Hajib said that he asked him about the gold plant, and he said it is found in 2 forms. One is found in the spring of the blossoms after the rains open in the country. It has leaves like the Najil, the grass, and its roots of gold to beer. The other kind is found all year round and known to the sites of the banks of the Nile and is dug up. All right, 1 second. The other kind of needle dug up. All right, there are holes There are roots of gold are found like the stones. Oh, let me play my vid. Or the Honda. Hey. All right. There are holes. There are roots of the gold and found on the stones of the gravel and gathered up. Both kinds are known as tabir, but the first is superior fineness. Blah, 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 blah. Sut Musa also told Hajib that gold has a prerogative and he collected the crop and the tribute except what the people of the country took by theft. But what Al-Dakuli says is that in fact, he is given only part of as a present by way of gaining his favor, and he makes a profit on the sale of it, for they have none in the country. And what Dukali says is more reliable. Ibn Idmir Hajib said also that the blazon is king of yellow and yada, yada, yada. He goes on to say that. So this is the account that you have to go to get more specific in Al-Umari's account. However, they go back and they still cite Dawadari's account because that is where the word Christian comes up. No other person that is mentioning this story brings up the word Christians when you just heard me say infidels. Why would they name the Christians infidels? But hold on, let's go ahead and see. So the reason that I'm even doing this show, right? The reason that I'm even doing this show is because the basis of Christianity in West Africa hinges on Bantu's argument. This is the most information that has been showed, and it goes back to the corpus, but the brother doesn't even go into the goddamn footnotes, but was told by Honey, I was told by Honey Clark, that I must read all of these sources to get to the last source. There are 20 sources that I need to go through. You want me to read R. Hickey's 1976 works, The First Visit by a Catholic Priest to Borno in 1850. For fucking what? That's not pre-colonial West Africa. You want me to read a 17th century Belgium visitor, Agades, and the north of Nigeria, the Journal of Historical Society of Nigeria, from 1981, ain't even referring to something because it said the 17th century. You want me to read about the Jukan-speaking peoples of Nigeria and the ethnographical study of them, and it ain't even talking about pre-colonial West Africa. You want me to sit here and spend an hour and a half listening just quietly through all this shit, and then 2 months worth of reading because there's no specifics to come back to something and then say, okay, on this slide, he uses this source. On this, because that's what I would have to do. I literally would have to go read all this shit and then rewatch the presentation and marry the source to the slide. Because you didn't put any of this shit on a slide. And speaking of which, let's just do this right now. Pull up one of your sources. Real brief like 196. Let me turn to 196. Let's go to 196. Let me tell y'all when I know when a motherfucker wasting my time. So 196, the history of West Africa, right? The book is called The History of West Africa, Volume 1. Okay. Ajayi and Crowder is in my hands. I ain't on Google, YouTube, none of that bullshit. You can't play me. I got the book. I got the book in my hand. Y'all hear it. It talks about the rise of Islam in Hausa land. It is the era of Muhammad Karu, Muhammad Rabo, and Muhammad Rumfa. You don't believe me? You don't believe me? Just watch. Let me take the background off. Motherfucker. Visual effects. None. We go to book. History of Africa, Volume 1. There's the editors right there. Here's the book. It says exactly what I just said. So now y'all know that there's the book. Cut my camera back off. Cut my camera off of there. All right. So where is this on the presentation? Some shit about the era of Muhammad Karu, Muhammad Rabo, and Muhammad Ramfa. Where is this at? Or am I going to find Christianity in these chapters? I've already read this whole book. I read this whole book a long time ago. But you know what's on page 197? Is the mention of a primary source, the Kano Chronicles. You know what I don't see on here? Nothing about no motherfucking Christians being in West Africa. None. Zero. Zilch. I'm on 198. Nope. I'm looking at the political changes. That's on 198, 199. Nothing mentioned. West Africa. Nope. Oh, finally, towards the end of the 15th century, important political changes appear to have taken place in far northeast of Hausaland. The Tuaregs. These resulted from the establishment of the Tuareg Sultanate and the Agadez. Then it says, tradition suggests that the foundation of the Sultanate was followed by a southward migration of the Goborar in the direction of the frontiers of Katsini. They eventually established the capital of Berlin, Lille, but when exactly we don't know yet. This southward movement of Goborar. Oh, let me go back to your slide. Oh, let me go back to your slide, my dear brother, where you mentioned that shit at. Because you didn't mention that part of the book where it says that we don't but we don't know exactly when this bullshit was established. I think I seen this on the slide. Let me find that bitch. Cut the scene up. Let me go back. Ain't none of this talking about no Nubians coming from East Africa into West Africa, my brother. None of it. I'm looking at it. Ain't none of this talking about no Christians in West Africa either. On page 200, it says this. Peep this. Bottom paragraph. Also in the direction of Jimmy at the end of the section of Ney, where there are gardens belonging to the rulers in the pleasures ground, bordering on the Nile of Egypt, 40 miles from Jimmy, their fruit of different from ours. They have many pomegranates and peaches. They make us sugar cane and grow a little good of quality, but they do not devote themselves to it except the ruler. All of this is talking about some motherfucking people in Egypt. Before that though, hold on. Before that, it says, in the region of the lake Kura, from which flows the Nile of Egypt, Mogadishu in Ghana. Ibn Fatima said that he had not met anyone who had seen its southern shores. However, the people of Canaan and their neighbors, whom we have found on the northern shore, sail on it around the lake on all sides of the brutish, heathen peoples of Negro race who are cannibals, and we shall mention most of them here, on the northern side of Bardi, and their town is known by the same name. From below the town, which stands in the midst of its domains, emerges the Nile of Ghana, adjoining them on the west of Jabi, who foul their teeth. If anyone dies among them, they hand over the corpse to its neighbors to eat it, and their neighbors do it likewise to them. On the southern side of Lake Ankazar, and to the east of the Kura, after whom the lake is named, to the east of the town of Badi, belonging to the Muslim people of Canaan, is the town of Jajar, which is the capital of the separate kingdom, where cities and towns, but which also belong to the present ruler of Canaan. I have fucking integrity. If there's a source being mentioned, why ain't it in context to the gist of your presentation, sir? And then on the back end of this, let's go back, because I really got to find that slide where you was at. But let's go back, and you got this shit, the Yoruba and the Edo speaking peoples and the neighbors before 1600, J. Ajayi M. Crowder, History of West Africa, on page 196 to 263. From 196 to 201, it ain't talking shit about none of this shit that you just mentioned. From 202 is Hunwick on Songhai, Bornu, and Hausaland in the 16th century. 16th century, based according to the pages that you're naming. So I'm just saying none of that is talking about a Christian empire. And everyone who has the book or text can confirm and prove the fact that I'm not lying. It's all Muslim shit. I'm all the way to 227. I'm to the king's list of the Askias to 235. Guess what? On page 240 of this same book, the Atlantic slave trade is being mentioned. Ain't shit in this motherfucker talking about no Christian. I'm gonna skip all the way back to I'm gonna go all the way up into 263. 263 ain't even the end of the chapter. It's a whole nother chapter talking about the Atlantic slave trade. You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. We have the work. We ain't got to lie, Craig. This page 263. Right here. Y'all should be able to see it. Real clear. 263. I'm going to come down. Look at that. I'm going to go slow. Look at the top of the page. Afro-American in the New World Societies. And look at the top. This is the chapter on the Atlantic slave trade from 1600 to 1800. What the hell does this have to do with the shit that you present in this presentation? Ain't nothing about Christians. Ain't nothing about no Nubians coming east from the east to the West Africa. Nothing. So I'm supposed to read, according to your presentation, I'm supposed to read. Look how many pages you got to read. I'm supposed to read 63, 67 pages. I'm supposed to read 67 pages, which is parts of 3 different chapters of this book, and it's supposed to be talking about the Yoruba and Edo speaking peoples and their neighbors before 1600. Ladies and gentlemen, if I show you that this book don't even have a chapter about the Edo speaking peoples and their neighbors before 1600, you're going to think I'm lying. You're going to think that I'm lying. Here go the chapters in the book. There you go. None of them talk about Edo-speaking people. None of them. Look, it's right here. But this is one of the sources in his book. Where did you get that information from? Where did you get that information from? And see, here's the problem. So I'm going to go back, right? I'm going to go back. And when I started looking at shit, I don't find it. Where are you getting this information from? Which book, bro? Which book? Which book so we can confirm it? We would like to confirm it. Why did you source a history of West Africa and then give that big broad ass page number, pages to read, and ain't none of that shit talking about none of this shit that you were seeing here? None of that has anything to do with Balad al-Sudan, the land of the blacks. So when I originally stated that this is Vince Bantu's argument, the only spin that you added to this, my brother, that y'all added to this, whoever helped you with this shit, is that y'all started in East Africa. I have no problem with Christianity in East Africa or North Africa. I have none. We know that they came in and they started that shit, and when it was started, Garfield has made it very clear about the birth of your book and the people who put it together and how people in Africa began to be converted to your faith in which you hold today. But when you stepped across the Sahara and tried to walk that shit into West Africa, that's where you fucked up. You have absolutely no evidence. And if we pull up the Knut Chronicles, it's going to speak the most about the Hausa land and Canaan Barnu. And then we really going to see if there's any type of Christian presence in Canaan Barnu or anybody from from Nubia coming into the area. Because the Canaan, that whole chronicle is crazy. It's a primary source. The Canaan Barnu is a real thing. I don't even know why you try to play that game, bro. You got me, and I did it to myself 3 hours in on some shit. Yodi, what the fuck is you doing in the chat, bro? This ain't even nothing you need to have a conversation about. You stay getting beat up. You embarrassed yourself on True Butter channel. Hold on. Eight 74 726. All right. So what's up? I know you're an idiot, but that's why I did not deal with this presentation, because you're going to put me in East Africa, and I don't want to be in East Africa dealing with East African shit. I specifically did what I did. That's why I don't need to replay the presentation that I did earlier or go to the slides addressing you niggas. I don't need to do any of that, because I dealt specifically with what you put up, which was Vince Bantu. I don't need to go to Coptic Christianity and motherfuckers being Christians over there in East Africa. I don't need to do that. I don't need to do that. We didn't see one kingdom, because the word kingdoms was mentioned by you, even though you didn't harp on it. You trying to walk it back in the chat. I didn't mention anything about, you didn't bring up anything about the kingdoms. There's no information on that. Definitely wasn't nothing on controlling the gold trade. Wasn't nothing on that. You definitely don't even have a place where what kingdom that they're in. You didn't even bring up Kawar. You didn't even bring up the location. You just try to put Vince Bantu argument up and then use it like, see, Vince Bantu said it. Woo, 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 woo. This is what I mean by evaluating sources. Abos got sources. But when you evaluate the sources and break them down, you start to see where they fucked up at. You didn't even go and try to deal with the validity of Leo Africanus. You didn't. You didn't try to do that shit at all. And then hold on, I'm reading something. Yeah, that was about Leo Africanus. Yeah, that's true. They were limited. Definitely were limited. But before I even go any further, man, I ain't gonna be on here all day, Ben. Before I even go any further, I need to put something in the chat. I need to highlight this. Ogun and Pure. I don't know why the YouTube video blocking y'all comments, bro. I just approve the messages though. Before I go any further, man, I want to just say this right here, man. BM, join us for the I Will Meta podcast episode. Right? They got a real nice show tonight. You know what I'm saying? Make sure your ass in the building. If you was in the building for this bullshit, you can be in the building for this. Straight up and down. You know, we're going to learn some stuff, man, the right way, man. You know what I'm saying? We ain't making up nothing. No false flagging or none of that. They're going to be on about an hour. You know? And that's how it's going to go down. Yeah, make sure y'all here for this show. 7 p.m. Eastern is 6 p.m. Central, ladies and gentlemen. It's about to be 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. Approximately 1 hour from the top of the hour. The Awo Meta will be in the bidding. Make sure your ass is here. I can't even get into my elbow shit today. It's cool. I'll save it for another day. But it looks like somebody asked me where is what's that dude name, man? They asked me where is Aboriginal Power. I said, I don't know. So if anybody got an AP, you know, put an APB out on Aboriginal Power, feel free to let the people know who looking for them. You know what I'm saying? But what I mean by evidence as it pertains to Christians, oh yeah. Buddy had a problem with this word. He circled this. He said, use that wrong. He's correct. I was typing from a cell phone, and I ain't correct. I don't give a fuck either. But anyway, as it pertains to to like finding evidence for Christianity. 1,000-year-old burials of first Christians in Poland discovered in their medieval settlement. See, I don't hide anything or do any of that. So why they can find this shit 1,000 years old, but you can't find them pre-colonial Africa. That shit wasn't even 1,000 years ago. You know what I'm saying? That shit is far less time than the evidence for this. And what y'all don't see is their posture, how they're buried. But there's an amulet. There's amulets. We're calling them amulets. But like there's this little symbol that was found in them too to let you know that they were Christians. We ain't finding this nowhere in West Africa. They were buried with battle axes, knife blades, rings, and carnelian, a red and silver stone beads with the bodies. We ain't finding none of that. They let you know. You know, so I'm trying to be nice to the Christians. But I'm, you know, not really. I ain't trying to be nice. Fuck that shit. I'm trying to let people know that you can't just jump out the window and deal with something because someone says something. He, Vince Bantu, seriously believes that Al-Dawadari is a primary, just like Leandre. Al-Dawadari wasn't even in the room. Al-Dawadari is in Syria. Go look him up. They tell you specifically that he's in Syria. He ain't even there when Mansa Musa and Al-Din are talking. So how is he writing as if he was there? Behooves me. And then Dukali says infidels, where someone else is saying Christians. How interesting. So now there's Dukali, who is saying what is being said, who would be the informant, and then there is this Negro. One second. All right, sorry about that. So I did drop the link though. No one joined. I'm not going to hold too much of people's time up. I really wish that the same crowd that was here earlier, I wish you could return to learn a little bit more about Isheshe and the indigenous practices of the Yoruba, since the Yoruba was mentioned earlier. And potentially, or maybe, just maybe we get into this whole Nigerian knot. You know, maybe I'll make a post about the Nigerian knot and give you some insight into the Nigerian knot, you know what I'm saying? And then we see what the peoples is really saying about the Nigerian knot, man. Yeah, no. But I appreciate y'all time, 3.5 hours. I'm trying to give it a little bit more time before I end it. I'm gonna end it right at the 3:30 mark. I did, you know, Hemi, I know you like let the video play, bro, but I'm not finna let the video play on some bullshit that we don't need to hear. We're dealing with a specific argument. I don't need to go nowhere else. Once I show on the screen that he's making Vince Bantu's argument as a part of his, it's a wrap. On the straw man shit. Y'all just liars, bro. Y'all supposed to have some type of integrity as men. And y'all lying like the fucking Hebrews, the Abos, the Moors, the black wannabe Indians, untouchiness, indigenous, wabo ass people, all that. All them sectors, the goddamn Muslims, the NOI, y'all doing the same type of line, bro. The same type of line. And ain't none of y'all had the audacity or the wherewithal to go check the notes in the corpus and read the accounts and then see who's saying what. Because at the beginning of your presentation, Byron, you said, hold on, let me go back to it. From what we did see and what we skimmed through, this is what you said, not me. This is what you said, right? Let's get back to it. Where is it? What point? Here's what you said on your slide. You said Christianity, you're not saying that Christianity was the dominant religion in West Africa. Okay, cool. You know you ain't sure it in West Africa, pre-colonial. You see, Christianity existed in pre-colonial Africa. You said that's what you was going to show. It was significant enough to be documented by Arabs and Europeans. You didn't show me any Arabs documenting about Christianity pre-colonial. The only Arab that you showed that was pre-colonial would be Vince Bantu's argument. Then you said you had other Africans kept narratives and artifacts seem to coincide with the data. You didn't show no Africans. We don't have any names of Africans. We don't have any of the shit going on about them at all. So this point, you really don't share the data. You don't even make the argument. You just went into a whole realm of where I didn't want to go. And then you're saying, well, your boy's saying, y'all might be booty buddies because a lot of y'all Christians be gay and a motherfucker. You might be the choir director and he might be the lead singer. Nah, I'm just playing. I don't take it back though. But you said all of that, right? And then you didn't show it. I can't believe you went the Prester John route, which is what Garfield kept trying to educate y'all niggas on. Y'all didn't even want to deal with it. So from this point, the first part of this shit is all Garfield. I ain't getting into none of that. Garfield got all of that. This back end, this me. Already done. From this 119 point on forward, you have been checked. The information already presented as a response. Indirectly because you using Vince Bantu. So I ain't trying to hear none of that. None of that shit y'all on, bro. So listen, man. I need y'all to show up tonight. Support Black Panther and the Awo Meta. If I said that right, Black Panther, you'll correct me if I didn't. Tonight, make sure you here. Be square. Those of you catching the replay, make sure you tap into the show tonight because they're going to be live in approximately 56 minutes. They're getting their things together, and we're about to change the radio station to learn some of this real West African history and culture, right? And practices. We're going to get into that. So, but for now, we appreciate all of y'all for tapping in, like, share, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? I shouldn't have to do this again. I'm not going to do it again because it's boring. To sit here and be lied to, and then you waiting on evidence you never going to get. Peace. Let me leave y'all with a little bit of this. Let me leave y'all with a little bit of this anthem right here.
from Africa, but they will be able to tell you about Africa. They wouldn't be vaguely saying they from Africa, bro. Like when a European says I'm from Europe, he doesn't say I'm from Europe. He says I'm from Germany. I'm from a particular province. I still got people out there, right? You know, when people say hold on. When people say they from Asia, they tell you where about from Asia they from. They tell you their province. They tell you they still got people out there. These people will confirm that they are indeed a part of their heritage. But you niggas was calling y'all African? Oh, mysteriously, you have no contact with the people you say you descend from. So I don't believe you. Bro.
Hating Africa and hating the African, we ended up even hating ourselves without even realizing it. Because you can't hate the roots of a tree and not hate the tree. The roots of a tree and not hate the tree.
You ain't no Indian, please try again. Everybody know you's an African. And Malcolm X said, you can't hate the root without hating the tree. Now take a look at you, you's a wannabe Cherokee. And I told you before, you need some therapy. And why you never show the genealogy? You owe your ancestors an apology. And you know they turning over inside of their graves just because you don't wanna come from a slave. So you gotta take this whip in. I caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple. Caught another apple. Caught another apple slipping. Ay. Caught another apple slipping. Ay. Caught another apple slipping. Ay. Caught another apple. Caught another. Let's go. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple slipping. Caught another apple. Caught another apple. Caught another apple slipping. Yo, check this out, man. You wasn't already here, man. Dane Calloway lied to you, man. The research guy lied to you, man. Karimio lied to you, man. Your ancestors come from Africa, whether you like it or not. So no matter what you do, no matter what you say, you will always be an African. You can't deny the facts. You can't deny the evidence. You can't deny the genealogy. You can't deny the DNA. You can't deny it, man. Whether you like it or not, you are African. Caught an apple slipping. That's all we do. That's all we do. Let's go.
Got some dewy-eyed thing that you got a friend. I still ask you to look at that mirror. And if nothing's staring back at you is friendly, then you've got no friend.